Welcome to Nick and Dave Deep Dive the Metaverse, a podcast exploring cult classics, subculture, and geek media. I'm Nick.
And I'm Dave.
And we will be your tour guides for this hot take of Lana Wachowski's cyberpunk allegory, The Matrix Resurrections.
Cyberpunk allegory, that's a good one. So this is really a great example of what they point out in the movie about how things continuously getting brought back and trotted out and whatnot. So I tend to normally really look down on this kind of movie. But I'm kind of a Keanu Reeves stan.
Oh yeah.
So I was up for it.
Interesting. I've been assuming this was going to be I like this and Dave doesn't sort of deep dive episode, and but then there was a few things that I was like, well, maybe he would like this, and I've been kind of wrestling with it since it came out. Would Dave like this movie or not?
Well, yeah, I was thinking the same. Is Nick gonna like this? Because I know you're not one that hates retreads because you like comic book movies and they're all retreads, but this is not a comic book movie, so who knows? And I'm not gonna. I didn't start off with any predisposition toward it, aside from the fact that I absolutely loved the first Matrix movie. I think it's probably a 5-star movie.
I saw it recently. I mean, I think we both did, but I got to see it in the theater, and I talked about that last episode. And I don't use this word lightly, and I've never used it about anything on the podcast before. It's a perfect movie.
Yeah, I actually had that right in my notes. I said this movie is probably a perfect sci-fi movie.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of it's sort of how perfect the first Matrix has harmed the reception to each consecutive film.
Yeah,
because they're all really good in my opinion. But when you compare really good to perfect, really good is lacking.
Yeah, it's like if the first course of the meal is perfect and everything else is just really good, then it just seems less than.
Yeah, you're like, I just want to go back to those good rolls that they served me at the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, I was really into that. So I don't know how much of a retread we want to do on the summary of the first 3 movies, but maybe we do that after the break.
Okay.
This was a Lana Wachowski solo flick.
Yeah.
No help from Lily. And the budget was $190 million.
Ooh.
It's a big one. We don't have a full box office total yet.
It's not going to make that.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna. It's getting kind of panned.
It was really interesting, especially because I'd seen, the Spider-Man the weekend before, which was the first movie to crack $1 billion since the pandemic, and was an event in a similar way that Avengers Endgame was an event. Okay. Like it's a movie where people are cheering and clapping and stuff. And then, The Matrix Resurrection ends and the theater is like, like there's it has about it. Yeah, it has the same reaction when I saw Blade Runner 2049, the theater reacted like that, where people are like, what do I think about this?
I really liked that movie.
Yeah. And I think this is a movie that would will improve on future viewings too, like as you find more stuff about it.
Yeah, all Matrix movies are just massive Easter egg hunts. And this one is the most because it has 3 movies to
reference. Yeah.
It's so self-referential. Ridiculous.
I found myself doing the Leonardo DiCaprio leaning forward and pointing at the screen meme. Yeah, it's like that kind of towards the beginning of the film when Smith says our beloved parent company Warner Brothers wants to make a sequel to the Matrix trilogy. I was like, oh shit, we're just going to talk about it straight up.
Well, but the thing is, and I was going to talk about this when we got to that point in the movie.
Yeah, we could do that.
This wasn't a Warner Brothers, we're going to do this with you or without you. This was actually, I watched an interview with Lily Wachowski on YouTube, and this was actually a Lana Wachowski original, and this was her idea and her push, and she tried to get Lily on board, but Lily just had too much stuff going on in her life and just couldn't make the time and have the mental bandwidth. And so this was not a studio push.
Well, sort of. This particular movie is Lana's baby. The fact that they were going to make sequels to The Matrix, whether the Wachowskis were involved or not, was a actual fact. Warner Brothers is like, we're going to do this. Do you want in?
I didn't hear anything about that. That wasn't the narrative from Lily. But maybe that was just sort of a little bit of let's not talk bad upon our gravy train money dad.
Yeah, the prevailing theory, or like the pitch that had been knocking around before this one, was a trilogy of films based on young Morpheus, played by Michael B. Jordan, and that's what Warner Brothers was wanting to do.
They could still do that.
I hope they don't.
I mean, but it's Warner Brothers.
Yeah, so they very well might, and it very well may make way more money than this movie did. But
yeah,
I think prequels are just sort of the end of creativity.
I think prequels are bad, but they're not always that bad.
That's true. I'm gonna watch House of the Dragon or whatever it is. So.
Oh sure, and that I think is far enough forward in prequel-ness, I guess, timeline wise. It's it'll stand alone.
Yeah,
and that's okay. All right, so what have you been up to?
Are we doing this? Are we rolling for initiative? Or are we gonna do podcast fuel?
Let's roll for initiative. We actually got some dice here, and whoever wins the roll gets to go first.
Okay.
I got an 8.
I got a 2. It's you.
Oh man. All right. So what I've been up to, and I'll just keep this brief for the divers, but I went to Texas for the holidays and I had a hell of a time getting home.
Oh yes, you did. Quite an adventure.
I had a flight booked and they canceled it. They blamed it on the weather, but it wasn't the weather because literally every other airline was flying in and out. But what it really was staffing issues due to the new Omicron virus. They couldn't get flight crews. So our plane literally sat there and didn't fly anywhere. They just had no one to fly it. And so everybody on all Alaska Airlines flights had to rebook, and so everything started filling up really fast, and so we ended up having to wait 2 extra days to get another flight. And then when we got the flight, it took us to Denver, and then our second plane was supposed to take us from Denver to Portland, and they couldn't get a flight crew for it. More Omicron. And so I ended up posing the idea to Carrie that we rent a car and we drive home. And the other option was the airline was going to put us up in a hotel or try to put us up in a hotel, and we'd have to wait for almost a week to rebook.
Ooh, okay.
And so it was drive or wait a week. And so in Denver where we know nobody. And so we rented a car, and I reprised my late teens, early 20s, and I drove through the night. I started driving at 11 o'clock at night, had Carrie go to sleep so that she could take over when I was ready. And I drove until the sun was up. And so all night long, listening to podcasts. Shout out to my favorite podcasts, Grip Locked, Bogey Bros Banter, Smashbox TV, and Flight Diaries.
Wow, I have not heard of any of those podcasts. That's
literally
amazing.
All of them are disc golf podcasts.
Okay.
And so I listened to a lot of that. I downloaded them all on the airport Wi-Fi before we left. And so and then I ended up driving. My total driving stint, stopping only for gas, was 15 hours.
Yeah.
Through the night. And
when was it? About a 24-hour slog altogether?
It's supposed to be 18 and a half,
Okay.
but there was winter blizzardy through everything except for beautiful Idaho. It was just beautiful.
Just clear in Idaho?
Yeah, but
Okay.
I drove through Colorado and Wyoming through blizzarding conditions and overnight in the middle of the night. And then it was clearing nice in Idaho. And then when we got to 84, which was closed and then reopened, it was, even though they reopened it, they didn't reopen it because the road was good. They reopened it because the whiteout had lifted. You could see where you were going to crash. And crashes there were.
Yeah.
It was harrowing through Oregon. And so I pulled that one because I'm from a colder climate. Carrie's from hot places. She's not used to snow. So anyway, it was really rough. That's why we're recording this on the release date.
Yeah.
Because of my journey, I was gone for many days longer than I should have been. So that's what I've been up to. And as far as my initiative, what I want to call out for new stuff, I'll touch on stuff that you didn't prime me for. I told Nick when we got home, Divers, that I was not ready to podcast. And so he made a little playlist of some movie trailers and stuff that we could talk about. And I also, and I watched those, but I also pulled up a few other little things.
Okay.
Letterkenny season 10 is out. There's only six episodes. I watched them yesterday while I was recovering. It was pretty good. It's callbacks after callbacks after callbacks. So if you have not watched it from earlier, don't start with season 10. I enjoyed it, though. I had a great time. I love the D-Gens and their whole arc and all that stuff. They're still funny.
God, I wonder how many seasons behind I am now. I need to look at that.
It's fun, and they're fast. It's cell phoneable. You hear a funny joke, you look up.
Okay.
Book of Boba Fett is out. I haven't had a chance to watch it because of my adventures. We did finish Wheel of Time season 1 while we were in Texas. It was dope. I highly recommend it to everyone. The 7th and 8th episodes were really good. 7th was the best. 8 was really cool. They changed some things in order to make it more TVable, and also to deal with the fact that the actor who played Matt quit the show like after filming episode 6.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, that's why it got jacked. But I think they did a good job, and I'm excited for season 2. The Witcher season 2 is out. I'm partially through it. Have not finished it. I'm loving it so far. I like the whole Ciri arc.
So I started The Witcher season 2, and we realized right away we didn't really remember season 1 well enough to just jump in. So we binged through season 1.
Awesome.
And it's great. I still love that.
Yeah.
And then I've only watched the first episode of the new season, the sort of Beauty and the Beast thing with Tormund Giantsbane.
Yeah, I read that. I've read several of these Witcher books, and I remember that one. That was a really fun one. And then the last one is, of course, it's his role for initiative. I gotta say what's up in D&D land. It's the new year. There's new stuff. They've teased out to us that there's going to be 2 classic settings revived in 2022. Meaning old school. They haven't told us what they're going to be. There's tons of speculation. I think Spelljammer is almost a given because they did submit playtest rules for several of the races that were unique to Spelljammer. Planar stuff.
So Spelljammer, is that kind of the sci-fi-ish one?
Yeah, it's like spaceships with magic and plane jumping and world hopping. And then there's tons of speculation on the second one. The lame speculation is that it's going to be Dragonlance because there's new novels coming out. But that's such a like a white bread boring setting.
Even I, who is not very plugged into the D&D world, has heard that rumor.
Yeah, I'm not happy about that. I really want it to be Dark Sun.
That's what I was thinking you were going to say.
They've already revived Ravenloft, so Ravenloft and Dark Sun are my thing. The other things coming out is there's 2 Critical Role books on the horizon. One is an adventure that's actually being published by Wizards, campaign setting thing. And then independent pressing, the Critical Role people are putting out a revision of their Taldore campaign guide, which is a world book for the first continent. They just put out the second continent previously. So I'm going to get both of them. And then they're putting out D&D later this month, late January. They're putting out a big rules expansion gift pack. So it's got the 2 critical books you need. Like I would say even players need these, Tasha's and Xanathar's, that give you all sorts of new that give you tons of player options. They're really good.
There's Tasha's Cauldron of what?
Everything.
Of everything, and Xanthar's Guide to monsters? No.
I don't remember. I just call them Tasha's and Xanthars.
Okay.
And then there's a new book in the pack so that simps like me will buy it. It's called Monsters of the Multiverse, and it's a revamp. It's got a whole bunch of new monsters and stuff, but it also has over 20 playable races and a bunch of other cool things. And of course, because it's Wizards, they're doing a standard version and a variant cover version that you have to buy in the shops. So I'm going to get the variant cover version, I'm sure, because I want that new book. And then I'll have an extra Tasha's and Xanthars for whatever.
This is how the Matrix keeps us submerged in the simulation.
It's true. It's very true. But, I love me some D&D. All right, so what about you?
Okay, so first up, as you alluded to, I made you a playlist of 4 trailers that I thought seemed cool and interesting or I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
And I curated them towards, I think you would have kind of takes on them. And
okay.
And I curated the list because I wanted you to watch them in a certain order.
I did watch them in order.
Okay, so cool. So first up, from director Robert Eggers, who directed The Witch or the Vitch with 2 V's, and The Lighthouse, which I loved, is The Northman, starring Alexander Skarsgård, Nicole Kidman, Anna Taylor-Joy, Ethan Hawke, and Bjork, and Willem Dafoe. And this looks like
star-studded.
It looks like highbrow Conan. Like it's very, there's certain things, like certain scenes in it that really evoke John Milius's Conan the Barbarian. But instead of in a fantasy setting, it's in a realistic Dark Ages setting. It's a Viking revenge story, and this just looks awesome to me.
Yeah, it does look really cool. I thought that there was, they alluded to some stuff. Maybe they're going a little fantasy when the Gita seems to do magic, but it's not clear whether that was just ritual stuff or if there was actually something going on there.
Right.
I really liked a couple of the historical references that they use near the end of it. There's a Godi who's wearing a horned helm that is from an archaeological find from Vendel, Sweden.
Yeah.
They replicate the carvings. They're called the dancing men.
Okay.
And they're on these decorative plaques that are on a chieftain's helmet. And so they replicated the dancing men in that guy's costume.
Nice.
And so that's very historically accurate. There were some scenes in there where it looked like they got the textiles right on the clothes, but then they put the wrong trim on it. They used like late period trim. It's definitely not from that time frame.
Well, it's set in Iceland, right? Instead of so does that make it inherently later period being out there in Iceland? Like that stuff's all settled later in the Viking period, like towards the end of it.
Sure,
right?
But I'm talking like some of the trims and even some of the jewelry that they use aren't until like the 12 and 1300s.
Okay.
And so my sort of, I guess my take on this is that it looks dope.
Yeah.
I think that my scholarly reading and historical knowledge of this will probably diminish it for me, where I see all of the problems, like the neckline on that tunic is wrong. That's a 15th century neckline. You can't be wearing that. They literally never made their clothes like that. We know because we have grave finds. We literally know what they wore. So I think that might diminish it for me. And the other thing that I got to say negative about this, holy shit, shut the fuck up with your mantra. By the time the trailer was over, he said that stupid mantra so many times. I was like, I don't ever want to hear that again. Okay. You sound like an idiot who only knows like 12 words.
Oh my God. Okay, great.
So, I mean, it looked good, but that actually was was annoying to me. I was like, if that's going to be like his fear is the mind killer, and he says it like a couple times in dramatic scenarios, okay. But if he just says this, if this is his Aria's list that he reads every night when he goes to bed, I don't need to see that.
Interesting. Okay, well, I did not predict that. I thought you would just be in the bag for this. But
yeah, I mean, I loved certain things about it. Like the fact that the Gita was actually dressed right, that's really important. And it's super well documented how they dressed.
Yeah.
So I think it's important.
Well, I think Robert Eggers is a brilliant director. I mean, I'm not. That's not a controversial opinion.
Sure.
And I'm not. I mean, I watched all the seasons of Vikings, so I'm not going to get hung up on historical accuracy.
Yeah.
Or,
yeah.
you know, beyond a certain point.
That's like a soap opera Viking movie or show, because it's like it should just be considered loosely historically inspired.
And I'll fully admit, everything past when Ragnar dies, I just sort of hate watched. It was really like, I just need to finish this.
What is it? I haven't watched it. Does it follow Bjorn or
Bjorn, but mostly Ivar, because he's the most of the sons of Ragnar. He's the most documented,
and he's based on Ivar the Boneless,
correct?
Right?
Yeah.
And then Bjorn Ironsides, both famous Vikings, like actual dudes. Same with Ragnar Lothbrok. He's a real guy.
Yeah. So I always tell people if they're asking about that show, and I was like, just when Ragnar dies, stop.
Just stop. Oh, it's kind of like when it's kind of like watching Sons of Anarchy when
once Jax becomes president, stop.
Yeah, stop. He won, and because it happens at the end of a season, so just stop watching.
Yeah, you don't get the full Hamlet arc. Like, he's not, because he has to fall eventually.
Yeah.
But it's a more satisfying watch if you stop there.
Exactly.
Because they milked out a couple more seasons than they needed. But let's get back on track.
All right.
Next up, Everything Everywhere All at Once, by two directors, Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinhardt. Daniel Kwan directed a movie called Swiss Army Man with Daniel Radcliffe, which I haven't seen, but it's a weird movie where Daniel Radcliffe plays a corpse.
I think Daniel Radcliffe only does weird movies now.
Yeah, that's what he does.
Because he's got money.
He just does. He's like, oh, that sounds it. He's like a young Nick Cage. He just does what stimulates him to, that'll be fun. And he doesn't care about money. And anyways, these two directors also did do a show for Comedy Central called Nora from Queens, starring Awkwafina, that's pretty hilarious.
Okay.
So I'm in for these directors, and it stars Michelle Yeoh. And as far as I can tell, Michelle Yeoh plays like a multi-dimensional nexus being that is able to access every reality in the multiverse, her persona from those realities, and take their skills and experiences and use them in her life. Yeah. And it just looks really weird and kind of out there, and it's got a great cast. And they use a David Bowie song in the trailer, which everyone seems to be doing right now, but it always works on me. And so I just thought this looked like a really cool, quirky movie. I think it was from A24, and they just put out interesting movies like The Green Knight was from A24, and they don't put out crap. So I'm interested in this, and I thought, what would Dave think about this?
What do you think I'm going to think?
You're a skeptic, but I thought
that's true.
I think it's interesting enough to get your attention, and everyone loves Michelle Yeoh. Like, she's a badass, and watching her as sort of like a put out mom, but kung fu master. I don't know. I think this might work for you.
Yeah, you pretty much nailed it. I love Michelle Yeoh. I'll watch her in pretty much anything she does. And I think that it's good that this is a new IP. It's not a refresh. It's not a rehash. And I like that. I prefer that. It has fun shades of The Matrix and other weird kind of like I don't know. It's really quirky. It's got some cheeky moments in it, and I liked that. It seemed like it'll have a little bit of comedy. I think that seeing like a lady in her 50s do these ridiculous action scenes, it's pretty amazing because she's a legit martial artist, and so seeing her in action is cool. So I'm up for it. I will definitely be watching this. I hope it comes out on like HBO Max or something, so I don't have to go to a theater.
It might do, a lot of those A24 movies, I think they do that sort of Amazon video on demand thing where
pay like $4 or $6
or
$20.
$20. Yeah, like they're like, we want you to pay what it costs to get 2 tickets.
Yeah,
because you're at least 2 people are watching this. We know it.
I don't want to do that. All right, next movie.
You paid that to watch Bloodshot,
Oh, no.
I promise this is a better movie.
I said, I don't want to do that. I should finish that sentence, but I will.
Okay. All right. Next up, this one looks really funny. The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent by Ton Gormacan, starring Nick Cage and Pedro Pascal. I don't know anything about Tom Gormacan, but I can just tell watching Nick Cage and Pedro Pascal be two eccentric weirdos together, that'll carry me through. Not a full-length movie, but that buys you 60 minutes of my attention. If you can get the other 30 minutes to actually be engaging, this one works. It totally will land for me. Basically, Nick Cage plays like this heightened, exaggerated version of himself. Yeah. Nick Cage with a K instead of just a C. And he's sort of down on his luck, and he accepts an offer to attend an eccentric billionaire's birthday party for $1 million. And the eccentric billionaire is Pedro Pascal from The Mandalorian.
Yeah, this seemed so funny and such a hilarious meta commentary. Kind of like, it reminded me of like JKVD. Where,
I haven't seen that. Is that good?
Yeah, it's funny. It's like where a person plays an exaggerated version of themselves. It's really funny. This kind of reminded me of
That's with Jean-Claude Van Damme, if you don't know about it.
If you don't know, JCVD. Oh, yeah. So this reminded me of that one movie that I can't remember the name of that had Zach Galifianakis and Robert Downey Jr. in it.
Oh, yeah.
Which was... That had me rolling. That movie was so funny when Robert Downey Jr. spits in the dog's face. I just died. Beautiful French bulldog.
I loved that movie too, and I almost didn't watch it because the reviews were so bad. But I was like, how can this be bad?
These two people are amazing.
Yeah, and they're just doing their thing.
Yeah, they're being them.
Yeah. And
So this reminds me of that, where I like the actors enough, and there was Neil Patrick Harris in the trailer, and I love him. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna watch this. I love stupid comedies, and this is stupid.
Yeah, this was if you were sagging a little bit from everything all at once, I put this in here to bring Dave back up.
Oh yeah, because you wanted to prime me for this next shitter.
This is not going to be a shitter. This is going to be good. The Batman by Matt Reeves, starring Robert Pattinson, Zoe Kravitz, Andy Serkis, Colin Farrell, another Skarsgård, Peter Skarsgård, John Turturro, Jeffrey Wright. I've been wanting to talk about this movie on the podcast for a while, and so I was waiting for there to be a fresh reason to, because it's still a few months out. And I was very much, and I think I've said this before, I was in the we don't need another Batman camp.
Yeah,
because
we already had The Dark Knight.
There's been, at least 10 Batman movies? A lot of them. But every time something new comes out for this one, I can't help it. It looks so good. Matt Reeves, again, great director. His Planet of the Apes series. I don't know what to say about their feel-bad movies. I watch those movies. I never... the old Planet of the Apes are kind of campy fun.
Yeah.
His Planet of the Apes are just depressing.
They're good.
They're really good. And I think this is going to be like that. I think this is a feel-bad movie. A lot of people kind of bag on it and say it's just a rehash of the Nolan movies. But that's not what I see. I see Ridley Scott Blade Runner as a big influence in this.
This is based off Batman Begins, right?
It's got shades of a few different storylines, like The Long Halloween, more recent stuff from Tom King.
Okay.
But no, this is supposed to be Batman year 3. He's been doing it for a while, but it's not uber experienced God among men Bruce Wayne.
Sure.
It's still kind of depressed fuck up Bruce Wayne.
I like how lo-fi it feels. Like the new Batmobile just looks like an like a Mad Maxified badass regular car, as opposed to a weird military vehicle.
Yeah, I've read a few threads about whether or not it's a Charger or a Challenger or maybe a Camaro. I don't think it's any one of those cars, but it's very 70s Mopar muscle car.
Yeah, it's definitely got that big Mopar square body look. And I love that. When I saw that, so my first initial reaction, I was like, oh, Twilight Batman. I remember this was going to be a thing.
You're not an RPAT hater, though.
No,
I know you're not.
I actually think he's pretty good. He just had a bad role that he played like to the letter, you know? So I don't hate him. And I started off this trailer thinking another rehash, great.
Yeah.
But then as it went, it actually won me over. Like, I think that the new lo-fi vibe is really cool. I think that the new Batmobile is sick. I liked the actress that played Catwoman. I think she was suitably gritty. She wasn't like just a one-dimensional boring version of the character.
Zoe Kravitz.
Okay. And I liked the look, like the vibe of the movie looked really cool. And I thought they took maybe one of the lamest villains ever to grace Batman and made him creepy as fuck, the Riddler.
That's true, yeah.
So, I mean, like...
It's like Saw Riddler.
Yeah, he's not Jim Carrey's dipshit in a neon green jumpsuit.
Right.
It's really creepy and it's very dark. And so I liked that. I liked how when they showed there was some fighting near the end of the trailer. It was really straightforward, just like ass beating. It wasn't like, it didn't look like stage combat. It just looked like some straightforward, just ground and pound, like how you would actually dispatch a dude.
Yeah, I think in my mind, and I see a lot of things that, even though aesthetically, I've said this before, I think Affleck's Batman is aesthetically the comic book Batman. He's the Frank Miller Batman. My kind of platonic ideal of Batman is a guy who fights to cripple. You know what I mean? Because you're going more or less unarmed and fighting people with guns, and it's just about stop this guy from non-lethally stop him from harming you, and that means you break limbs, hands, legs.
Yeah.
And Batman should be suitably brutal, and this is very much like that. He looks like a horror movie character more than a superhero.
So is this going to be a trilogy or something, or
everything is right?
Sure, yeah.
I think it's a one, and then we see where it goes. It's situation
the way it always goes.
Yeah,
like one with the option to continue.
That's how Warner Brothers seems to have we'll give you an absurd amount of money to make one movie. And if it's successful, we'll do two more. Yeah. They did that with Dune, it's just how they operate. That's how they did The Matrix, etc.
All right. So I guess that's the last trailer. I think you actually did good on these. All 4 of them are movies I will see. So that's pretty cool.
Perfect. Perfect score.
Yeah,
I love it.
You're 4 for 4. All right. So what are we drinking?
Oh, hold on. I have two obituaries. T. Mark Taylor, toy designer, passed away at age 80. He's one of the primary creators of the Masters of the Universe.
Oh, man.
He designed and sculpted the original Castle Grayskull. He created Skeletor, Beastman, so many of the characters from the Masters of the Universe. He can't claim sole creator because it was a team effort at Mattel, but he's the main guy. And he also worked on the original Ninja Turtles toy line, and he's just in that pop culture toy world, such an influential figure, and we love Motu here, so
yeah,
we have to remark on his passing. And then yesterday, fucking Betty White died.
Oh, just before her 100th.
I know. Oh, it's tough. And I was just gonna let it pass and just kind of not talk about it because it didn't seem totally related and everything. But then I saw a sad Instagram post this morning and it made me tear up a little bit because it was all 4 of the Golden Girls in their celestial reward together, and I was like, oh man, they're all gone.
Yeah.
And the Golden Girls, that's not subculture or geek media, but that show holds up. It's funny as
pretty
hell.
Funny, yeah.
So R.I.P. T. Mark Taylor and Betty White.
Yeah, I don't have anything more to add to that, but we lost some good ones in 2021.
Okay.
So
and then let's drastically change gears.
What's our podcast fuel?
I brought us IO from Ecliptic Brewing here in Portland. It's a Doppelbock. It's the first time that they've done a Doppelbock. And of course, Io is the name of the human city in the Matrix Resurrections, so that's why it's thematic. And it's a German-style lager with a variety of dark grains for notes of lightly toasted bread, dark fruits and toffee. Magnum and Kazbek hops top it all off. And it's an ABV of 7.2.
Yeah, I like it. It definitely is malty. I taste that bready vibe. It's a good beer. I've gone on record. I like these Doppelbocks.
Yeah.
Anybody who makes one, it's usually pretty good.
And if I'm remembering the folklore correctly, Doppelbocks, monks would brew Doppelbocks to drink while they're fasting.
Oh, okay.
And it's supposed to be like essentially like drinking a loaf of bread. It's to sustain them while they can't eat.
Yeah, my first Doppelbock I ever had, I believe, was a Chimay. And it was really good.
That's a good Belgian brewery.
Yeah. So yeah, this is a really good beer. I recently had a good European beer. Normally I'm drinking American beers, but I had a Belgian lambic that was like a cherry infused sort of sour. It was really good.
It wasn't too sweet?
No, it wasn't. It was nice and balanced.
Because those lambics, they're always delicious, but sometimes like I'll like make radlers out of them because they're so sweet. I want to cut it with another beer and not so it's not like drinking syrup. But
yeah, my brother-in-law brought it was like a fancy, came in a wine bottle size thing, and we shared it at the on Christmas.
Very nice.
It was really nice. All right, well, this opening segment went pretty long, but that's okay. it's our first episode of 2022, so that's all right.
Yeah, we're still figuring out this roll for initiative thing. It's fine tuning it.
Yeah, let's take a break, come back, and dive into the Matrix.
All right. Welcome back, divers. Shall we dive into The Matrix Resurrections, 2021, Lana Wachowski?
Yeah, so let's do a quick talk about the first three movies, because this is the fourth in the series.
That's a good idea, because it might be 20 years since you've watched those movies. I know it was 20 years since I'd seen them.
Yeah, so the first movie came out, I believe, in 97 or
99.
99, yeah. It was late 90s. I remember it. You know, it's a hallmark of latex and leather and black sunglasses and cool tall boots and all that stuff.
Yeah,
Stuff that
Airwalk made those boots for Neo.
Did they?
Yeah, I was like, is that looks like the Airwalk A, because I was looking at costumes and stuff, and I was like, that's weird. And it's like, yeah, Airwalk custom made those, and it's like, what a weird brand to go with.
That's pretty cool. And so the first movie, I'm going to assume most people are familiar with The Matrix in general. It's Mr. Anderson is in his shitty life at clocking a job, and he leads a double life. He's this hacker online, and he's trying to track down some notorious guy named Morpheus.
Right.
And ultimately, he gets his office gets attacked. He gets rescued by these weird people dressed all crazy. They take him to this old dilapidated mansion and explain things to him that there is he is inside a construct that only exists in his mind.
Right.
And he's actually his body is in like a pod, and he's plugged in. And machines. What happened was there was a war of humans against machines,
right? And
the humans eventually decided to block out the sun so that the machines would lose their critical solar power. So the machines adapted and started using humans as a battery source because the sun had been darkened. Yeah. And so basically, Neo has to, he gets out of the Matrix. He has to become the one, where he gets power over the Matrix, and he has to fight the horrible Agent Smith, the
great Hugo Weaving.
Yes. And defeat him in order to, save everybody and all of that. It's essentially a hero's journey. This is a beat for beat kind of a monomyth hero's journey. He becomes all the way up to the end where he sacrifices himself to save everybody.
Yeah, but that's 2 movies later. But
sure.
Yeah, it is. And that's part of what makes the first Matrix film so great. And I think why people everyone kind of loves it on first blush because it is such a, on the surface at least, such a classic hero's journey. But the reason why it's become a long-term classic is there's way more layers to that onion, because it's there's philosophically a lot of stuff. It's this whole Plato and Baudrillard.
Yeah, it's the allegory of the cave and all of that.
The allegory of the cave is one of the main things, and that's actually Jean Baudrillard, who wrote Simulacra and Simulation, which is another big influence. That's kind of something he didn't actually like The Matrix, and thought that they were using his language to describe the classical allegory instead of what he was talking about. Which is, he said The Matrix is the sort of film about the Matrix that the Matrix would produce. And I was like, oh man, that's harsh, but true, but harsh. Sure. Yeah.
And so then they decided they needed to make more money. And so they made Matrix Reloaded.
Crucially, the Wachowskis pitched it as a trilogy from the start. They wanted to do a trilogy, but Warner Brothers, as we just mentioned a little bit ago, they don't greenlight trilogies. They give you one, and then we'll see.
It's also worth mentioning that there are credible things out there that this IP was pitched to the Wachowskis, and they edited it and altered it and made it their own.
Is that the Grant Morrison? It's based on The Invisibles.
It's not based on. That's not the one I'm referencing. There was somebody who tried to sell them a screenplay several years before that they basically changed it and improved the idea. They took somebody's good raw idea and improved it, and a settlement was paid, and it's not talked about.
Interesting. That sounds familiar now that you say that. I don't. Yeah.
I'm not taking away from the Wachowskis. I'm just saying that nothing in this movie is original. It's all a reinterpretation of ancient stories, and somebody else had thought of that first. Multiple people have thought of that first. Yeah, and they kind of codified it into this slick, stylish internet version. Sure. And so Matrix Reloaded, they go to Zion, which is a underground hippie colony, free people. The Agent Smith learns to clone himself. Agent Smith is a free elf. He no longer has to work for the boss. This one's cool because Neo wants to get to basically the center of it all. The source, so he can defeat it all. He learns that he has to find the Keymaker in order to get there. The Keymaker is being held by the Merovingian, who is this kind of classical styled French aristocrat guy who's actually an exile program. There's like this whole underworld, kind of a Mos Eisley in the Matrix of exiled and renegade programs and stuff.
Yeah, and I think this is stuff I bumped up against in the original viewing that now, as AIs have become so much more sophisticated, and I've played some in-depth video games where I feel like I formed real relationships with characters and animals in them, I totally understand how a sufficiently complex artificial intelligence could become self-aware.
Yeah, and it's really cool because the Merovingian is rad. His thugs are super cool. The action twins. Fights are just really cool. He ends up winning, frees the Keymaster, goes to meet the Architect. The Architect is like this old guy with a beard.
Looks like Colonel Sanders.
Yeah, and he explains to Neo that the One is an anomaly that occurs on the regular.
Like basically
every time.
Every couple of generations, there's another The One. There's been 6 of them.
And they just reset everything after The One. And he basically tells Neo, like, okay, well, you won. That means you get to reseed Zion again. And we're just going to we're just going to reset it and kill everybody and whatnot. Neo basically says, no, thank you. He leaves. He goes and he saves Trinity. Who's fighting in the Matrix, etc. And then when Zion is about to be destroyed, because, that's the way things go. Neo actually manifests his control that he has within the Matrix. He manifests it in the real world and shuts down the machines. And that's how it ends, like on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Because they knew they were making another one.
And they shot those two Reloaded and Revolutions simultaneously. They shot those two movies as one and then split it.
And then cut it up.
Yeah. So crucially, I think Diver Sam has a Matrix theory that Neo never leaves the simulation. Oh. This whole thing, the real world, the ostensible real world, is another layer of simulation, and that's why his powers still work within it. And this, kind of with each consecutive movie, as they commit more and more to telling the story, it's harder to sustain that theory, but it carries through all the way into the new movie too, if you want to read it that way.
That's an interesting take. And so he's like Dumbo. He has to have his magic feather, which is being in the shiny, glossy Matrix, not the gritty, shitty Matrix, which he thinks is reality.
Right. It's all his, it's like a solipsis. I messed that word up, but it's all an internal experience that he's having.
Sure.
So he's just
navel gazing. So the third movie is called Matrix Revolutions. Neo is trapped in some sort of limbo between the Matrix and the real world. And so for like the first part of the movie, he's kind of just trying to figure that shit out. And
in the train station.
Yeah. Trinity gets the Merovingian to help get Neo free. The Oracle gets taken over by Agent Smith, who then gains Oracle powers. And then Neo wants to go to the mainframe, which is like the physical real world space version sort of the source. It's like
it's the machine city where the server farm is, I guess. Yeah. And
so Smith has a physical body. He managed to take over somebody in this previous movie who then comes who then makes a heel turn and tries to kill Neo in the real world. Neo eventually, fighting ensues. Neo is blinded. He can't see, but he can see code, so he's fine. There's a really cool Zion defense scene with these huge gun mechs.
I knew you'd love that.
Oh man, I love mechs. And so I thought that was way cooler than floaty spaceships.
Captain Mifune.
Yeah.
Knuckle up. Yeah.
That shit is dope.
It's very BattleTech. They're not like slick looking mechs. They're very practical, like
blocky and
industrial communist mechs. Yeah,
I like that a lot. And so then Morpheus and Niobe use an EMP to save Zion and stop the machines. Should have started with that. Blind Neo and Trinity go to the mainframe. Trinity dies. And Neo agrees to defeat Smith to save both worlds. And then it's Neo versus Smith in a Super Matrix fight.
Yeah, because Smith is completely taken over the Matrix.
Yeah. And so Neo makes a deal with the mainframe, basically, to kill Smith. And so he comes back. So he's losing the fights, but he comes back like a total pro wrestler where he's losing. He pulls his Hulkamaniac where he puts his
hand to his ear.
Yeah, puts his hand to the ear, listens to the crowd. It gives him power. He starts stomping his foot.
Yeah.
And he fights back. He wins by sacrificing himself full of Jesus in order to save humanity.
What's with filmmakers love Jesus? Even non-Christian filmmakers love Jesus.
It resonates. It's a story that resonates. So, yeah, that's the end of Revolutions, where Trinity is dead, Neo is dead, and it's over. Except for this.
Except for this. That's pretty concise description of those three movies. There's also, if you want to go deeper, there's the Animatrix that has some kind of crucial.
And there was a video game.
Interstitial. Yeah, I never played that game. They should do a remaster. I'll play it then. But yeah, there's some interstitial stuff that you can get that is canonical content if you want to go get it. And it's worth it if you're an Uber fan. It's worth it to dig into that stuff.
So when this movie opens, it basically opens with a bunch of cops busting in on someone who looks like Trinity.
Yeah, and it is, except for just a few crucial things, a shot-for-shot remake of the first film. Like,
Yeah.
it looks very much... Lisa leaned over to me in the theater. She's like, I'm glad we rewatched these movies because it's like, this all looks exactly the same.
They do a lot of scene recreation over and over throughout this movie.
Yeah, and that, I mean, to me specifically, I think the thing that's being commented on there is the J.J. Abrams Star Wars movies. And The Force Awakens, how The Force Awakens is a remix of A New Hope. This is a remix of The Matrix, but it's a meta remix where they're talking about remixes.
How very Matrix of them. And so agent types show up outside and Trinity's kicking their asses, but then it kind of cuts and there are people watching that seem like rebels or whatnot, like Trinity's old crew and stuff, but they're not the same people. And they wonder if this is a loop. They're not sure what's going on. Trinity runs across the building top. There's a helicopter. She gets attacked, and then multiple agents pin her down on the ground. It looks like our fake Trinity has lost.
Yeah, and they comment on this. They're like, this is not how that story goes. Trinity doesn't get captured.
And then they're supposed to go, it's got to be a trap. This is just a trap. This can't be legit. And
it is.
It is a trap. So they go in. This blue-haired lady goes in, right? And she wants to save Trinity.
That's Bugs, played by Jessica Hennick.
Yeah, and I want to say that Bugs is probably the best new character from this movie. I think she probably is the most relatable.
Yeah, oh for sure. I mean, since I think probably Game of Thrones is the first thing I saw her show up in, and
what did she play in Game of Thrones?
She's one of the Sand Snakes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and she just kills it. She killed it on Iron Fist, which was a fairly terrible show, but she was awesome. And she always understands the assignment, as the kids say these days.
Yeah, and so like there's a bunch of firefights and a bunch of parkour and a bunch of ass kicking,
right.
The stuff you expect. And she hits the streets and it seems like she's safe, but then all of the people standing around start getting possessed and become agents.
Yeah, classic Matrix.
Taken over. And that is when it was clear to me, okay, this is more of what we know. This is a trope. And so they get away and they sneak inside a shop. Has this weird bead curtain thing. I don't know why that stuck out to me. And
because everything, well, here's why it stuck out to you, is because all these sort of falling things are evocative of the Matrix code, and they're there intentionally to represent that. So that's why it jumped out at you. Good cinematic eye, Dave.
Yeah, and the weird thing is here that she ends up getting like grabbed by an agent guy, and he saves her from the agents. He like pulls her into one of those white hallways or whatever,
the back door.
Yeah, and he saves her, and I'm like, what's going on here? Not sure at all. And he basically explains that he's a digital sentient. He's free. Like he's not an agent.
Yeah,
he's posing as an agent.
He pulls her into Neo's apartment from the first Matrix. And like they kind of compare notes. Like, why are you like this? And what are you? Like, they trying to figure each other out. And he says his name is Morpheus.
Yeah, but it doesn't look like Morpheus.
Yeah, it's not Lawrence Fishburne. It's Yahya Abdul Muhammad II, who... Is that Muhammad? Did I get that right? Mateen. Yahya Abdul Mateen II, who from Watchmen, and he's another powerhouse. That's a guy that's good in everything.
Yeah, he did a really good job. And so basically, I mean, they're talking about how they both are freedom fighters, and kind of, and then it cuts.
She gives him the red pill, blue pill to pull him out, because apparently we can pull programs out of the Matrix now too, not just people.
Yeah, because Morpheus is trying to find Neo. Like he's trying to find Neo. They both think Neo is still alive,
and and crucially, she's also trying to find Neo. That's why she was here.
And so he decides to take the red pill, and he gets all woozy, and that's that. And so, I mean, there's a lot of little nuanced things going on in this. I don't know how deep you want to jump into it.
I'll be honest. I did the same thing that I did for Warcraft, and I took crazy notes.
Oh no!
I have detailed
about the hut,
about the orc hut. Yeah, and I think I'm always analyzing myself. Mm-hmm. It's because this movie's getting shit on, and I like it. And so I feel defensive. And so I'm like, oh, I'm going to explain. I'm going to teach people why this is good. And so I went a little overboard. So I'm just going to, I'll let you kind of pull us along and let me not get trapped in any Neo's apartments. Because I could.
There's a lot of stuff there. There's his old school computer with his name badge and all this stuff. It's all Easter eggs.
Yeah. If you label every Easter egg, this is going to be a 6-hour podcast.
Yeah, there are hundreds of Easter eggs.
So I'll say falling code, pull out, revealed Thomas Anderson's workspace. You see his 4 monitors, and he's got Matrix code running on one of the 4 monitors. Mm-hmm. And you can see he's working on a game called Binary, and we see Matrix memorabilia all around his office. He's got like McFarlane Matrix toys posed on the desk. The Sentinel robots, Trinity. He's got all this stuff, and he kind of he comes to, like, he notices what's going on when Bugs is extracting Morpheus. He's like, what the hell? And gets interested in what's happening on the computer.
Yeah, and so there's like this bullet time, there's a wall running machine pistol fight extraction thing, right, with Bugs, or did you jump?
We went past that.
To Keanu.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, you see Keanu Reeves in his game designer office,
right? And basically, the way
he's just zoning out. He's he seems like a burnout just looking at him.
Oh yeah, he's definitely zombieing through work. He's got his official work going on, and then he's got his other monitors with his side projects going on. And I thought the big takeaway from this for me was once he starts looking at the Matrix code, you actually see him go into the modal. Mm-hmm. Like, he doesn't just like read the code on the screen. He actually manifests inside the computer program, inside the modal he had running. Yeah. And as soon as he does that, boom, 2 guys come in the office. What's wrong? What's going on? Like, people are very aware of everything he does.
And they're like lame tech bros, like people you would not want to be near, like, at all. And I was just like, oh, I hate these guys. They suck.
Yeah, the Asian dude is unnamed, but the real, like, the sort of handler that kind of leads Thomas Anderson around is Jude, which shouts to Ryan Airy at Screen Crush, who calls out that's an allusion to Judas from the Bible. Slipped right past me. But yeah, he's the friend that's going to betray you. Yeah, he's like a dollar store Jonah Hill.
Exactly. That's exactly what I thought. I was like, man, they got like Jonah Hill's stunt double.
He's so obnoxious. He's the worst.
Yeah. So basically they go to a coffee shop, and Jude is just, he's fanboying. Mm-hmm. It's like, don't you work with this guy? Like,
he's fanboying in that really obnoxious way where it's like, I really like you, but there's nothing likable about me. And it's really tough. You can see Thomas Anderson doesn't like hanging around with Jude, but he's almost like chained. Like, Jude is like an albatross he has to drag around. And Thomas is really distracted because he's waiting for his crush to walk in, Tiffany. Yeah.
And so Tiffany walks in, and it's Trinity. Yeah. And she's got 2 kids, 2 teenage kids. And Jude sees him looking at her, and he's like, "Oh, I'll go talk to her for you." And he's like, "No, don't do that. Do not do that." Yeah. But he does it anyway.
And he gets offended too because Jude calls her a total MILF, and he's like, "Maybe you should leave." And he's just like, he's not having it. This is like, I mean, this is why he goes to this coffee shop, is to glimpse this woman, and this guy is going to ruin this. And he does ruin it.
Yeah, he like tries to hook him up, and Neo, like, Thomas walks up and he's like trying to diffuse it or whatnot.
Very awkward.
And the teenage kid is being a dick.
Are you trying to bone my mom or what? Yeah,
Oh, that
rang very true.
I hate kids like that. And then her husband Chad comes in.
So on the nose, Chad, the handsome Chad.
Yeah, in this family, they are so fucking basic. I do not like them. Just instantly. Like, I don't like the kids. I don't like the husband. And I don't like Tiffany. Even though I know it's Trinity, I don't like this fake Trinity. Like, I'm just like, oh my God, they gave you the worst life ever. They made you a basic Starbucks bitch.
Basically.
They ruined you from being this awesome freedom fighter and made you lame.
But there's these glimpses of it, right? Like, she's this motorcycle chick. She's got her moto jacket and everything. And we find out later she has a garage where she works on bikes. And there's sort of like Neo's life. And we're kind of getting ahead here, but
sure,
there is enough Trinity and Tiffany to keep Trinity sustained but unfulfilled. And ditto with Neo and Thomas.
She's saddled with her terrible family and her terrible life, but she at least has her motorcycles to keep herself sane.
Yeah, and there's an obvious, not just because we know it, but you see it through their performances. There's an obvious connection between the two of them. Like, when they shake hands, it's very, and she says, "Have we met each other before?" Like, there is just this like very strong chemistry that Keanu and Carrie-Anne Moss have with each other, and it just comes through anytime they're together. The electricity comes through.
Yeah, it's really good acting. And I wasn't sure, I wasn't gonna say this, but I've met people like this in real life where they have these anchors attached to them. It's like there's like a coolness and a moment, like moments in their life where they take joy and they're their true self.
Right.
But the majority of the time, they're playing a role and they just can't get out of it. It kind of sucks. And so it's like you never actually see them come alive until they're doing their thing.
Right. Well, do you not feel that way in your life versus like your work life? You don't feel that way?
No. I mean, I don't. My job's not my passion, but it's definitely not like burying me.
Okay, interesting.
It's fine.
My job buries me for sure. I definitely am trapped on a treadmill.
I mean, I just feel like too many people let themselves become Tiffany and Chad and just have this albatross of an existence that's just more shit than awesome. And it's just like, ugh. The reason this made me like have like a visceral reaction of hatred towards that, it's because I see it in my not in my specific life like right now, but I've seen it too many times in real life where someone just has this like lame ass existence that's completely inescapable.
I mean, I think you're absolutely right. And I saw on Keanu Reeves' face as Thomas Anderson talking to Jude, I saw me sitting through terrible small talk conversations with people I don't want to talk to. Like, I saw that, like, I have worlds inside my mind, and this mundane conversation that you are trapping me in is sucking the life out of me. And it hit hard. Like, I was like, oh, I don't want to see my Neo like this. Like,
I think you gotta make a decision to stop giving a fuck about those
people.
So this is very non-Matrix, but it is Matrix because
it is
The Matrix is the drudgery. It's the shit. It's not the real. It's not the nerve. It's not yourself. I think everybody, of course, take this for what it's worth, which is nothing. You got to just decide to say fuck off to that stuff. Like, you are an NPC.
To say fuck off to Chad.
In this adventure, you are a meaningless NPC. You have no impact on the outcome. I'm not going to waste even a minute talking to you. And I know that sounds like a total dick thing, but that is who I am, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't want to waste my mind cycles or my effort on people who are just NPCs.
it's fair. And I think probably many people feel that way. And that's why, not to skip way ahead, but when Tiffany / Trinity Scorpion kicks Handsome Chad in the face, oh, it feels good.
It does feel good.
You're just like...
Because everyone wants to kick Chad in the face.
Yeah, like every time you meet a Chad, you're just like, oh my God, stop sucking the life out of me, Chad.
Exactly. So yeah, I think this was a moment in the movie where Jude was
your terrible coworker.
Thomas's horrible reality that you have to deal with, and Chad plus Chadlings were Tiffany's horrible boat anchors.
Rough.
Yeah, I'm not condemning families and saying families are anchors, but I'm saying everyone has an anchor. It could be a Jude.
Yeah.
It could be a Chad.
Yeah. And we're both married. I mean, I'm going to speak for you. I know your anchor is not your wife.
Yeah, that's true.
The wife is anything is the life preserver for after you've fallen out of your boat.
Yeah, for sure. And so I think that this is why this movie actually, and not just this movie, but The Matrix in general, the fakeness and the lameness of the shiny world is less appealing than the realness of the actual world.
For sure. And if you get into, I'm not going to talk French philosophy a ton, but if you get into simulacra and simulation and what Baudrillard was talking about, it's not a literal simulation like you're jacked into a computer. That's an allegory.
Sure.
The simulation is this sort of hyper real world that we experience because of the way we're just bombarded with shit.
Yeah.
And that's what The Matrix is an allegory for.
Yeah, it's the fake life you live.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
so anyways.
So we're moving on. He gets back to his office. The scene ends awkwardly, and everyone's like, ugh, it's very cringe. And so then another bro busts in on Thomas's office.
Yeah, because he's going to investigate the modal, and he finds the modal's been purged.
Yes, and that's no good. And a dude busts in on his office. Turns out it's his business partner, and it is a lame ass tech bro who is ostensibly his partner, but acts like it's his boss.
Yeah, he gets called to the boss's office, and the boss is standing there quoting Agent Smith from the original Matrix. And he's got that Hugo Weaving cadence to his speech, and there is a bust of Hugo Weaving's Agent Smith when Neo punches him in the face. There's a bronze bust of the punched face there.
Yeah.
And so we just immediately were tying this guy who doesn't get named until later with Agent Smith right off the bat. Obviously, Thomas Anderson ties him to Agent Smith.
Yeah, and basically this guy says, well, Warner Brothers is going to make more Matrix, whether we like it or not, so we better make a new game. And he's like, what?
I thought they couldn't do that. Yeah, there's a lot of perplexed and befuddled Keanu in this movie.
Yeah.
And that's something this movie has that the other Matrixes really don't, is there's a lot of humor. It's a funny movie, and the first three Matrixes are very serious.
Yeah. And there's some weird stuff going on. Like, you see the tech bro's mouth, like, weirds out. It's like,
yeah,
it like garbles up.
It seals shut the way Neo's mouth sealed shut in the first Matrix.
When he talked to Mr. Anderson the first time in that interrogation room.
Exactly. There's all these things connecting this scene with the first meeting of Agent Smith and Thomas Anderson.
Yeah.
And they just have this very meta conversation with each other. And there's something that's a reoccurring motif in the first half of the movie is drinking coffee. And doing things. Maybe I've been kind of butting up against why Smith smokes cigarettes. But all these things are things that people do to wake up. And Neo and Smith are, I guess I'm already doing the reveal that this actually is Agent Smith, just reskinned. they're both trying to wake up constantly. That's why they're always drinking coffee and like trying to snap themselves out of the state that they're in.
Yeah, they're both trapped, and there's a duality to Smith and Neo. They're yin and yang.
Yeah, it's the theme. That's another theme in the movie constantly is binaries.
Yes,
and Neo and Smith are a binary. Neo and Trinity are a binary. The real world and the Matrix are a binary. Just on and on and on.
They should just get along and make a little throuple.
Oh man, that's fanfic right there.
That'd be a power move.
The Neo Smith Trinity polycule. There's probably already pages of internet content about this.
So then it cuts to Mr. Anderson in therapy.
Oof.
And Neil Patrick Harris is the therapist.
The analyst.
But he is also his therapist.
Yeah.
Meaning he is his analrapist.
Not worried about how you spell it. You know? And well done. Oh. Okay. The analyst.
Yes.
So right where he's got blue pill all over him, right? He's got blue glasses. I think he's wearing like a blue sweater. He is the algorithm, you know?
And he's prescribed Anderson these blue
pills. He keeps you submerged in the simulation.
Yeah.
And that has to do with so many things. The way social media keeps us engaged. Like that's to me really what he represents is that blue is Facebook. It's Twitter. It's all of those things and how it pulls you in.
Which is why one of the interesting things about this movie is it's a recurring thing in the original movie. Everyone was looking for phones to get into the Matrix, and now they're looking for little mirrors
and doors, like your cell phone.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's a modern internet, and also in this one, the Matrix code doesn't just go top to bottom. There are occasional ripples of bottom to top, so it's more of a back and forth.
Yeah.
Than before, whereas the internet used to be, that was Internet 1.0 was just delivering content. Internet 2.0 is where it's back and forth, where you are also content.
Yes. You're plugged in. You're getting this. I love it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool how they do these little things and they don't even explain it to you. It's just, it's there. If you noticed it, you noticed it, and if not, you didn't. So then it kind of goes to the bathroom scene where he's supposed to take his medication, and he looks different in the mirror briefly.
Yes.
And then he dumps out his blue pills.
Yeah, you cut ahead a bit.
Oh, yeah, you're right. He actually takes one in this scene. He dumps them out later.
Yeah, he takes them for quite a while because we get the whole scene while he's in the pitch meeting.
Oh, yeah, while he's on the pills. He takes the blue pill, and then he goes to the business meeting for the Matrix 4 video game, and then White Rabbit by Jefferson Airplane comes on.
Yeah, this whole White Rabbit montage. And this is just so good.
It's awe-inspiringly bad as far as creativity, killing, mind-numbing, like brain murder.
Right. And so he starts every day going and running on the treadmill, which obviously that's metaphor because this whole thing is a treadmill that he's trapped in. And he's sitting with these guys, young creatives, yuckies, as I think we called them in the 20s or in the teens or whatever, or no one ever did, but magazines did.
Yeah. No one ever said that in their life. I'm a yucky.
Yeah. And probably no one called themselves a yuppie in the 80s either, but we ascribed it to them. Anyways, they just have the same idea day after day. They just keep saying the same things.
Yeah, the actors keep delivering the same lines, but in different ways and in different locations. And it's funny because it's almost like a game to see if they can sound more profound than last time.
Yeah. What made you that? Because it effed with your head. We need to stir up their synaptic what the fuck response.
And they're like, bullet time. We need a new bullet time.
Yeah.
Like over and over, all this stuff.
And so what I think of, and we're big Star Wars fans. I don't mean to beat up on Star Wars, but I feel like all new Star Wars, for the most part, comes out of a meeting like this.
Oh yeah, this was not. This was nobody's singular creative vision.
You know, like we like The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian came out of a meeting like this.
True.
You go, what do people love about Star Wars? Boba Fett. What if we did a whole show about a Boba Fett? You know, like, and you...
What else do they love? Yoda.
Yeah, exactly. And you start pitching that thing, and maybe they...
And puppies. But what if the puppy was a Yoda?
Yes, exactly. So it's like we're watching them make the Mandalorian Matrix or the Force Awakens Matrix.
Well, and the Matrix, or I'm sorry, the Mandalorian was an amazing show. And I think that's because they handed it over to really good directors and writers.
Right. And that good shit can come out of these rooms, but the impulse is purely commercial. And the fact that, you know, these people are all some of them are bots, like Jude is a bot, but some of these are real people with real ideas and actual things to express, but they're trapped in their matrix. Anyways, any one scene in this movie I could go on for half an hour about. So let's move on.
Yeah.
Eventually Neo's had enough. He dumps out his pills.
Yes.
And then immediately something changes once he's not taking the pills.
He then goes to the coffee shop waiting for Tiffany. He has a chat with her, and they're talking and they're really connecting. She's talking about how she likes the Matrix. She knows of the game, and she really liked the character Trinity. And it's funny because it's almost like she's apologetic that she likes his creative work, and she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry I waste your time." And he says, "This is the best thing I've done in a long time."
Yeah, because literally this is the first time he's experienced something real that wasn't designed to make him miserable.
Yeah,
in weeks. And same for her. Like, they both have this real human moment with each other.
Yeah, I like when she asked, "Did you base the main character off yourself?" And he says, "There's a little bit of me in him."
Yeah.
And I think that's cool. I like that moment, how they kind of connect.
And you see, sort of like we've seen Thomas Anderson's reflection occasionally, and he's kind of a older, doughier, balding, gray-haired
eye patch dude.
Yeah, he doesn't look like Keanu Reeves when we see Thomas Anderson. And similarly, you see Tiffany's reflection in the table, and she's a real Karen. Like, she's not, gorgeous Carrie-Anne Moss, cool lady. She is mom bro. I don't know what you call that kind of lady.
Yeah, see, the thing is I don't want to besmirch people who,
raising kids is not
wear
a bad thing.
Uggs and go to Starbucks and have two teenage sons, because I actually know people who meet that description that are pretty cool.
Yeah,
but there's a certain I don't know, like, indescribable nature of a lame basic person.
Yeah, and you just know it when you encounter those
people. Yeah, you know
people.
it when you see it, but you can't really, put your finger on it.
I say this often, but here I'll say it on record. Moms are gangster. Like, being a mom's fucking hard, and I don't take anything away from moms.
No.
But obviously Tiffany is not a cool mom, and Trinity's not happy as Tiffany.
Yeah.
But anyways, like, I think the key point here is when they start to connect. She tells a story about how she said, "Doesn't this character look like me?" to handsome Chad. And he laughed at her and how furious she is. But that's because she doesn't, to the rest of the world, she doesn't look like Trinity. Like, she doesn't look like we see her as.
She sees herself like her true self.
Right. Her RSI, residual self-image.
And also the Chad character is her
handler. Bot. He's a bot, yeah.
And he's designed to keep her in the rut. So anytime, just like Jude, anytime she was, showing any sort of personality flaws toward, not flaws, but like
character, her true self.
Yeah, anything that's counter to her just maintaining what she's doing,
Right.
he's supposed to squash it.
Right.
And you know what's sad is that there are partners that do that to their partners in real life. That,
Ooh, yeah.
That crush out the little sparks, and I hate to see that.
Hold you. Oh, you talked about The Office. That's the thing. Pam and Jim in The Office, right? And Pam is married to a Chad. I don't remember what the guy's name is.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
But his job is to keep her in the Matrix.
Yeah.
Jim stimulates her mind, but that guy pulls her back in. Be down here in the Matrix with me.
Yeah, some of this stuff when you think about it, it's too real. You're like, man, I have a friend that has a Chad. Oh, a person who crushes them out.
And got a scorpion kick that Chad.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, you don't want to have a Chad. If your divers, if your partner crushes out your creative sparks, scorpion kick.
Endorsed. Yeah.
I'm not trying to tell you what to do with your life, but one kick. That I will.
It could at least, maybe snap him out of his thing.
Your Chad could be a her too. It doesn't matter.
It's like what's Mike Tyson used to say: everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face. Exactly. Scorpion kick to the face. That's a real wake up call.
Yeah, it's just don't yuck my yum, Chad.
Beautiful.
All right.
So once they start connecting, Tiffany's phone rings. Mom's got to go. She gets pulled away.
Yeah, the bots can't have this. Mm-mm. And the thing is we learn they're supposed to be proximal. Mm-hmm. They're supposed to have unrequited they're supposed to see each other at a distance but never get close.
Yeah, it's that thing.
He stopped taking the pills.
Yeah, so he's starting to snap out of the simulation a little bit. So he goes back to the office and there's an emergency evacuation getting called.
And it's crazy. There's an alarm going off. FBI agents are going through, and there's like a text, and it's like, "Hello, Neo," and it's like, "What?"
Yeah, because this is the chat from the original movie that Morpheus has with Neo.
Exactly.
And Thomas Anderson thinks that it's Jude because it's always Jude, and so he goes in the bathroom expecting Jude. And out walks Morpheus 2.0
in a yellow suit.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, pimp juice. Or that's old drip. He's got drip.
Drip. All right. And so they have an exchange. He offers Neo the red pill, and Neo's doubtful.
Yeah.
I really loved the one thing that I think is easy to overlook is Keanu's acting in these scenes when he's Thomas Anderson, how he's like this unsure guy, and he's the physical acting, there's the body language that he does.
Oh yeah.
The slumped shoulders. He's always downcast. He's so good.
You know what that is? That is Christopher Reeve's Clark Kent and Superman. Mm-hmm. Because when he's Clark Kent, because Chris Reeves jacked. He's this big dude. He's fucking Superman. But when he's Clark Kent, he's hunched. He's not sure about anything. He's always like getting run over by people. Total. And Neo is Superman. They call him Superman in the original trilogy a few times. Yeah,
and I think that the acting here is really it's so good. So there's a FBI gunfight. They break in, and there's explosions, and there's water dripping down from from the fire alarm, and Morpheus starts shooting back at them, and then all of a sudden, his tech bro boss
partner
pulls out a Desert Eagle and just starts going at him, and it's very clear this is Agent Smith, and he's shooting at Neo.
Yeah, it's like he sees the gun, and he goes, "I know my true purpose." Let's kill that guy. And he says, "Mr. Anderson," and just starts blasting. And Neo's just like not having it.
Yeah.
He's not engaging with what's going on. And then the little black cat shows up.
Yeah, you see the little black cat. And then he gets shot in the head. And he comes to, and he's in his therapist's office. And he's told he had a psychotic break.
Yep. He must have walked all the way across this hyper real San Francisco that we keep seeing. He came to the analyst's office, and none of this stuff really happened. Do you need more pills? Like, the analyst is like, this, you just had a little setback, and let's get you back in on track.
And the cat has a name tag. Its name is Deja Vu.
Which is like, a callback to the first movie.
Yeah, because Deja Vu is a glitch in the Matrix. So, yeah, he basically... he explains to Neil Patrick Harris that the new Morpheus came and visited him, and he's like, oh, he's seeing Morpheus again. Like, this is a recurring thing.
Yeah.
And he's great as the therapist. This acting is awesome.
Well, and it's so I don't want to give the wrong impression here, because I think talk therapy and all of these things are very useful. But there's a way that people can weaponize the language of therapy to control people. And that's what's going on here, where he's using those words to try and manipulate Anderson.
Oh yeah, he's totally manipulating him. It sounds and it's awesome. Like, I think that it's incredibly effective. And then it kind of cuts, and there's a rooftop scene. It looks like Thomas Anderson's about to kill himself. It looks like he's about to walk off the edge of the roof of the skyscraper.
Yeah, he's got a bottle of vodka up there, and he's getting ready to jump. And this is not the first time he's jumped off this building. That was actually his initial psychotic break, or at least that's what we're told. And just before he jumps, he says, if I fly, I'll either fly or fall. And just before he jumps, and his phone's buzzing, because anytime he's going off the rails, Jude is calling him.
Yeah.
Before he jumps, Bugs grabs him and pulls him off the edge.
Yeah, and she explains that she's seen him leap before, and that this isn't real. And obviously, Morpheus has already had the discussion with him, so
right.
She's just sort of explaining more, and then she says that agents are no longer look like agents. They're skinned as normal people, and so they're like handlers and all of that.
Yeah, she drops the knowledge on him that Jude is a handler program, and he's coming with agents right now. And she shows him her White Rabbit tattoo. Yeah, and is like, "Follow me."
Yeah, and so they run, and they step through a door onto a train in Tokyo, and it was such a beautiful Japanese landscape. You see Mount Fuji and everything. It was nice.
And it's hyper real the same way San Francisco is hyper real. Like, all the colors are oversaturated. And this new Matrix, where the old Matrix, everything was dull and had this green hue to it, the new Matrix is like, boom, it's very in your face.
Yeah, it's extremely modern looking, whereas the scenes in the real world look gritty.
Totally.
So yeah, he follows her. They fight through the train, and then they step out off the train into a theater, and there are like computers running, and there's a new Morpheus, and you see Lawrence Fishburne being projected onto the curtains in the theater.
Oh man, yeah. So there's a lot going on here.
Yeah,
they step through the doorway into this room. A stage is set with the props from the original Morpheus scene.
Yes. With
the scene playing on a torn screen behind them. They come out through the screen onto the stage, and it's this whole it's a repeat of the scene that Trinity took Neo to go see Morpheus in the original film. Yeah. And now they're repeating it again, and there's this whole there's a biblical aspect to it, where Eve takes Adam to the serpent. How Morpheus always has his alligator trench coat and his little sunglasses. He's the serpent. The serpent gives you the fruit of knowledge of good and evil, and that's what the red pill is. And
like an apple.
Yeah, exactly. And so there's a lot of stuff, but the biggest thing here is what Morpheus 2.0 says: nothing comforts anxiety like a little nostalgia.
Yeah, that's very true.
That's what the fucking Matrix does to us. Is the Matrix makes us anxious, right? Like this sort of postmodern depression and things that people experience. all the mental health problems we have are from the Matrix. But the Matrix feeds us little nostalgia bursts.
Yeah.
Little things that just make it so you can cope with the treadmill a little bit longer. And so we collect toys and we collect things that give us...
We rewatch a series, a beloved TV series, or...
Exactly. The comfort watching a show. We go and we watch the Friends reunion or the Harry Potter reunion. All the stuff HBO Max is pumping on us, because it's not just Disney. Warner Brothers is getting us on the nostalgia train too. And this is heavy shit, man.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. They eventually do convince him, it's time to take the red pill, and Neo thinks he died, but he can't actually figure out why they didn't kill him. Like, I'm supposed to be dead.
If the stuff in the game happened for real, then I'm dead.
Yeah.
Why aren't I dead? Yeah.
And he sees a reflection of himself, and it's like he's this old ass eye patch guy. And he sees that, and they explain that it's been 60 years.
Yeah. He thinks it's 20, but it's been 60 years he's been gone.
Yeah, and so he takes the pill, and he reaches through the mirror, and then you see the analyst. He says, "You're in the midst of a serious psychotic break."
Yeah, you could tell like the levels of break that Neo goes through, what level of security they trip, right? Because he's thinking about jumping again. That's a Jude can handle it.
Yeah.
He's taken the red pill and is about to pull out of the Matrix. That's an alert the analyst problem.
Yeah.
It's like it sets off a much bigger alarm.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. I mean, agents show up in the theater. There's gunfire, standard stuff. Nobody gets hit or killed.
Yeah.
Because, it's the Matrix.
I'll be honest, and I think maybe this is something why it's not hitting hard with some people. The action stuff doesn't slap the same way the original Matrix does. Then there's no way it could. Because we'd never seen anything like that before when the Matrix came out.
And we've seen every John Wick movie, and they hit way harder than this.
Exactly. So it's like at this point, Matrix action no longer stimulates us. We're so desensitized to it.
Yeah. This is like a porn addict that has to go to extremes. You can't.
We gotta get weirder.
Yeah, you can't just see a regular fight. It's gotta be like a fight underwater with a poisonous snake.
Send me that link. I want to watch that fight.
Yeah, it's just totally weird. And so there's a bunch of fighting, and it's a standard Matrix fighting, which is good.
Yeah, because when they go back through the door onto the train, and then the train is just loaded with bots, and so they activate all the bots and have a big battle.
The gun fu is really cool. I liked it. And Neo starts getting woozy. They end up going through this little mirror, and he goes through, and he wakes up in the tank, and they're pulling the tubes out. Like the throat tube is so gross. I was like, watching him pull that thing out, and I'm just thinking to myself at this point in the movie, like, why did the machines keep him alive? Like, he's obviously a problem.
Yeah.
And so at this point, I don't know why he's kept alive, and it's illogical.
If he's such a risk to their whole thing, what's the point?
And I also noticed here that he's in a vat near another vat. And I hypothesize that that's got to be Trinity.
Yes.
But, I mean, that lies against logic because Trinity's dead.
Right. But it is Trinity. When we
learn that it is Trinity.
Yeah, because he gets pulled out of the pod, and two very cute robots snatch him up and take him away, and we see Trinity is in the other pod. It's not the power plant that we've seen many times before.
It's like a special place.
It's just two pods together. It's called, what do they call it? The anomalium. And you see Trinity sort of almost half wake up as Neo's taken away. She reaches for him in her pod, and he sees her, and it's sad. Like it's every time the two of them are together, I feel real emotion.
Yeah, I mean, they have pretty strong, powerful scenes. And these two robots that come and rescue him, it's actually kind of scary because one grabs him around the neck and lifts him. He's like, "Oh fuck!"
Yeah, it's like he looks like a bug. Like, it's a really creepy robot. The other one is the cute one.
Yeah, and
Sebebe.
it flies him away, and they leave Trinity behind. And then the squid bots start streaming in toward the tank, and the drones get away with Neo into this like crazy machine landscape. It looks really cool. Like the CG is really good.
Yeah, and that's I didn't know when the best place to mention it is, but just shouts to Jeff Darrow, who's the concept artist the Wachowskis always use, and he's designed all of this crazy machine shit for the Matrix movies. And
he's like a modern H.R. Giger.
Very much. It's and he's just like a pencil and ink, very traditional sort of comic book type artist.
Yeah.
But boom, crazy, mind blowing, intricate illustrations. And he's a Canadian, so he's super nice. If you don't be afraid of Jeff Darrow when you see him at conventions, he's a cool dude.
Nice.
And his concept art is always just bonkers.
That's cool. I'm glad to hear that he's a cool dude. So yeah, I love the way all of this looks. And so he ends up getting delivered to people in the real world, and they're on one of those ships, the hover rounds, whatever.
The Nimacine.
And he's in medical danger. So they jack him into a construct. And, there are like little clips from the old movies that you see here and there. And then new Morpheus.
Yeah.
It's revealed that he's like a combination of Morpheus, but with some Agent Smith mixed in. And it's like kind of complicated.
Yeah, he calls it counterintuitive programming that's crazy making. But he says that those were the two men that had the biggest influence on Neo's life. And so that's why he created the new Morpheus as a construct of both of them. And Morpheus 2.0, he explains the situation to Neo, and he basically, it's tough, Morpheus tough love time.
Yeah.
You need some time in the dojo, and we're going to fight this out until you get your mojo back.
Because Neo's brain is addicted and he's going through withdrawals.
Yeah.
And he needs kung fu, but he won't fight.
Yeah.
And so like Morpheus is just fighting him and he's just not fighting back until he does. And then it turns out he has the power and it's like a nuke goes off.
I still know kung fu.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like the differences of this Morpheus 2.0 to OG Morpheus, because there's OG Morpheus is kind of all Bruce Lee, whereas Morpheus 2.0, he does the sort of the Muhammad Ali shuffle with his feet. Like he's got some other fighters mixed in there, and I don't know, because you're a martial artist, I'm not a martial artist, but there's a lot, you know a lot about a person from their martial arts technique. Sure. It tells you a lot about their personality.
I mean, it was very clear that Morpheus original was channeling or programmed. They literally say, I know Kung Fu. He was using Chinese martial arts, like almost, which is what Bruce Lee was traditionally trained in.
Right.
And so like, it's all Chinese stuff. And then you definitely see new Morpheus does a lot of like Western stuff and more modern material. And I think that's intentional, that they're trying to show that this is Morpheus, but this is like updated, like modern. I mean, I think that's cool little detail. I wonder if this scene landed or didn't land with a lot of people because it's so much a rehash of a previous scene. Like almost this whole movie so far has been a rehash of a previous scene. Right. It's like very little original stuff has happened so far.
Everything can be tied to a scene from the first movie. Yeah. Like where it echoes it in some way. But I think that's obviously intentional.
Sure.
And it is just like we, not to bang on about it, but like The Force Awakens.
Sure.
And it's like you're getting this remixed version of the thing that you love to get that nostalgia bump. It's the neo-stalgia, right? Where you have the nostalgic feeling from something that's ostensibly new.
Yeah, but it's not. And so ultimately what gets Neo to, become Neo is the power of love.
Yeah, because he invokes Trinity, basically.
Yeah.
That's what you're fighting for, and he uses his Neo power to blast the whole dojo apart.
Yeah. And so he wakes up in a steel room, and there's like a cable coming out of his arm, and he has the ports all over his body. And Bugs comes in and talks to him, and they basically talk about the Matrix game.
Oh, yeah. So Bugs says, because Neo's talking about, just the sort of what this is like going through all of it again. He's like, how do you know if any of this is real? And Bugs says, that's it, isn't it? We don't know what's real. If we don't know what's real, we can't resist. They took your story, something that meant so much to people like me, and turned it into something trivial.
Because she used to be in the Matrix. Like, she wasn't born in Io or whatever.
She's someone who, was in the simulation.
She was a window washer.
And identified with the story of the Matrix. And then she had that epiphany moment when she saw Neo jump off the building.
Yeah. And so basically she explains that there was a purge. And then they go out and meet the crew. It's kind of like the same as in the first movie when they meet the crew.
It totally is.
But there's a neoologist.
Right.
Who studies the lore of Neo.
And I'll be honest, I took crazy train spotting notes where I wrote down everything. I didn't write down the name of anyone in the crew.
Yeah,
I just said it's the cast of the show Sense8, which it is.
Is it?
It's because the Wachowskis did that show.
Yeah.
And the crew of all the ships, it's everyone from the show Sense8, and so that's what I put in my notes.
Yeah, I started watching Sense8, and it didn't really resonate with me, so I didn't finish it.
Yeah, I've never seen it. I might go watch it now, but I had not seen it previously.
Yeah, but the interesting thing that you learn is that there are machines on the crew. There are sentient machines, and I thought that was actually pretty cool. And then Morpheus, the program, there's the little dot, like metal magnetic field dots or whatever.
Yeah, he's like magnetic ball bearings that
floating around. Yeah,
it's pretty cool effect. It's cool sci-fi nonsense.
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, it's all good.
So that's how he manifests in the real world. And then they tell him that other pod was Trinity. Like straight up, he knows Trinity's still jacked in. Yeah,
and it's kind of like that's probably her, but it was really hard to get you out.
So,
we don't know if, we took our one shot on you, the one, and we probably can't do it again.
Yeah, and then they fly through a wall. The old D&D illusionary wall trick. I've done it a million times.
Right.
And they fly into this city. They fly into Zion.
No,
Io. It's Io.
Like the beer on brand.
It's just Zion 2.0.
It's not just Zion, though, because they've got a lot of upgrades. Zion was in a cave.
That's why I said 2.0.
Okay. But 2.0 comes with some significant upgrades, such as the biosky. So, their circadian rhythm isn't all fucked up because they have night and day.
Yeah.
And they can grow food. And, there's some things, and there's digital sentience living alongside people. So there's a lot of cool stuff about Io.
And when they're pulling up to the landing dock, someone's like, oh, the general sent a welcome party. And it turns out the general is Niobe. Remember that really cool character in the previous movies who was a ship's captain and defender of Zion and all that, who was totally awesome? Now she's lame. That character you used to like, now, instead of representing a rebellious, plucky warrior, she represents a crotchety old shitbird that wants to protect what she's got rather than try to do better for everyone else in the future.
Okay, boomer.
So NIMBY. She's a fucking boomer in the Matrix. She's all like a ladder puller. I got mine. Nobody else gets to do anything daring because I'm old now and I'm risk averse. But there's horrible character. She's like embodying like what real people. She's Joe Biden. She's legitimately Joe Biden.
No, you're right. She is we won our war, and now I'm gonna hold on to this shit with an iron grip. And I mean that's just true to human nature. Like what they lived through and what they have now, you don't want to risk any of it.
Well, what they have now is so much better with it than what they had before.
Right.
But someone like Bugs didn't know what they had before, and so what she has now, she thinks they can do better than this.
That's
So,
the generation gap forever. That's always how it's going to be.
yeah, and so of course Joe Biden strips blue hair of her ship and sends her packing. She's basically like,
She says,
get
out of here, millennial.
Yeah, fuck.
Go eat your avocado toast.
Yeah.
That I grew those avocados.
Yeah.
I hope you like the toast. That's the fruit of my labor.
Yeah, and so she's a character who represents a cultural concept of absolute stagnation and protecting what you have at the cost of any progress.
Right.
And so they have a talk on
Yeah.
their.
She takes Neo for a walk and talk, I call that.
She's basically like, "Look what I have done! I am so amazing."
She's yeah. Oh, that's such a different read than what I had, but it is like still true. Like I am more understanding of her. But everything you're saying is right on. She pours him a scrumpy cider, and I was like, yeah, but of course you could start making scrumpy. You can brew scrumpy if you're growing fruit.
Yeah, she's like, "You got that shit because of me."
Right. And she explains the machine civil war. That's the big thing that happened. After Zion, we see these sort of glimpses of once resources started being less plentiful, the machines turn on each other. And we see kind of a blue versus red machine zapping each other thing.
Yeah, red versus blue, G.I. Joe versus Cobra.
Red pill, blue pill.
Yeah.
The architect versus the analyst. And we go to like the graveyard with the big statue of Morpheus, where Morpheus stayed a true believer till the very end. And that's very in character to how Morpheus acted in the original trilogy. He always believed in the religious significance of Neo. So of course, the prophecy's been fulfilled. We don't have to worry because And so he's just completely blind to what goes wrong.
And he's like, "Oh, Trinity's alive. I need to free her." And Niobe's like, "Well, actually, we're not going to help you. But not only are we not going to help you, we're going to lock you up in a cage because you are dangerous. So you're the one. And yeah, we're going to put you in a fucking box."
Right. How did I describe it? I said that Niobe is very protective of what they've achieved, I think is what I have said.
I mean, think about the scene with the strawberry when they're like, hand Neo the strawberry and how smug she looks. She's like,
yeah, see, we got strawberries.
"Bitch, eat that strawberry. That's
Good.
not even possible except for through me. Me. I am the strawberry bringer."
No, but she said, no, you cleared the way so that I could bring strawberries.
So, since I am the strawberry bringer, I will put you in a fucking cage.
Yeah. True enough. And so Shepard comes to take, he's one of the other captains. He comes to take Neo to his quarters. Everyone likes to geek out with Neo. Could you really fly? This and that. They all want to know. But Shepard drops some wisdom. People talk a lot about the old days. Everything was simpler back then. People wanted to be free. It's different now. It's like people gave up, like the Matrix 1.
Yeah, this is literally just a holding. This is another Matrix. This is just another holding tank.
Yeah, so that's true. Io is a Matrix of its own creation. Like
Yeah.
it's its own simulation.
It made its own little fishbowl where they don't want to expand it. They don't
And
want
in
to do anything.
The new Matrix, people don't want out of their pods because they're happy in this overstimulated world.
Yeah, they like it better. They've got their Facebook and their Twitter and, and their Pinterest. No, nobody's on Pinterest.
We got some new followers on Pinterest. Every once in a while we get one more. Someone's like, I don't know what this page is, but they post cool shit.
So yeah, they put him in the cage, and then Morpheus shows up and he's like, they put you in a Rapunzel tower, which I thought was pretty funny.
And of course, Bugs and the crew of the Nimacine did not go and surrender their credentials and turn in their ship and do all that stuff. They're like, we're busting Neo out. We're going to go get Trinity. We're Matrix fans. And we're gonna star in Matrix 4 right now.
Yeah, we're gonna do some Matrix shit. We're gonna like Niobe did, and when she got all in trouble.
Yeah, and Niobe and her sort of gal pal, they have their little talk where Niobe's mad, but she can't. She has to admit it's what she would have done too. Like it's very much like come on, you would have done this. Yeah, it's like, well. It's almost like maybe they'll die out there and I won't have to worry about this again.
Maybe I'll get lucky and this will be and they'll just kill themselves. Yeah. So they break out, they get Neo and they leave in their little hover ship, and then cuts to Trinity, who's riding a Ducati bike over a bridge. It looks pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. And so we'll just say Carrie-Anne Moss had never ridden a motorcycle before The Matrix Reloaded.
Oh.
And she started with a really high-end Ducati sport bike. Like, that's what she learned on, which any motorcycle person will tell you, don't do that. That's how you kill yourself.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, she learned to ride for this series, and I love that they bring that back, her riding the Ducati, because it's so iconic in The Matrix Reloaded.
Yeah, they had back in the day, there was a Matrix version of the Ducati Monster. It was really cool.
I know. I watched a Keanu Reeves talking about his motorcycles video on YouTube, and he has the Matrix motorcycle.
Yeah, that's really cool.
It's dope. Okay, so the closest Seek can get them is a hotel near a warehouse near Tiffany's garage. And so they go into the hotel, which looks very much like where the Merovingian... There's certain details there that evoke the Merovingians' compound from the Matrix Reloaded, which is very fitting because when they get to the warehouse, Agent Smith and the Merovingians show up.
Yeah, and one thing that I noticed is this time when they jack into the Matrix, because this is intentional, this is basically the first time that Neo has gone into the actual Matrix since being busted out.
Right.
Everyone else is in all their, like, cool-ass late 90s garb with their latex and all
right.
that. He's wearing, like, a black suit jacket and slacks. He is not...
I think it's a long coat, right?
He's not Neo'd out.
It's a full-length coat. It's Dad Neo.
Yeah, he's definitely not cool. There's nothing shiny about his outfit.
That is very true.
He's simple.
I think it's really interesting how Neo and Keanu have merged.
Yeah.
Because, and this happens, maybe this is another meta thing, like RDJ and Iron Man and whatever, how they kind of become one thing. Neo and Keanu have become one thing because when you see Keanu in interviews, it's very much suit jacket or top coat, t-shirt, jeans, boots, long hair, and a scruffy beard.
Yeah.
That's the Keanu look. That's the new Neo look, too.
Pretty much. So basically, yeah, they're there, and there's the Merovingian, but also Agent Smith has shown up.
Yeah.
He's an agent, but he's not. He's a free agent. And he wants to reason with Neo.
Yeah. So they put the guns down and they have a little chat. Because Smith, this new version of Smith is content to just be free in the new Matrix.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want Neo to upset the apple cart, is what I call it. Going after Trinity gets the analyst involved, and the analyst put us all in this simulation to begin with, and I don't want that, and I'll kill you to stop you from doing it.
And yeah, so basically he's sort of like, he's not battling Neo because he works for the analyst or anything. He's against Neo because he just doesn't want Neo to ruin everything for him.
Yeah. He just got free again, and he doesn't want to be unfreed.
Yeah. And so basically Bugs and her people start fighting the Merovingian and all the other exiles in the thing, and it cuts back and forth. between the Merovingian and the ship crew, and then Agent Smith fighting, fighting Morpheus or Neo.
Yeah, and I just put big group fighty. Like, the fight is fine. It's all very well executed, but very generic fighting. My favorite thing is actually the Merovingian's rant.
Oh yeah,
where he's like, you ruined every fuck my silky ass thing. We had grace, we had style, we had conversation, not this BB art, film, books. They were all better. Originality mattered. You gave us face Zucker suck and cock me climity wiki piss and shit. The Merovingian likes the old Matrix. He hates the new internet.
Yeah, I'm with the Merovingian.
The internet was better when we had to like dial up and go to it, and then we unplugged from it. Now we carry the internet around with us constantly.
Yeah, I agree. I liked it when phones were just for phoning.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah, no, the Merovingian's onto something.
So basically, they do this fight. Neo's not doing amazing, but he comes back and he does fine.
Yeah, it's set. It mirrors the subway station fight from the first film, but it's set in a restroom, and I think that's got to be intentional, right? Like, it's less grand. It's a toilet. There's no getting around it.
Yeah, and basically Neo does the same pro wrestler thing where he's down and out, but he comes back, and he ends up, he has the power. He just needs to use it, and all of that. The same old thing.
The thing I think that I thought was interesting about it was that even Smith is somehow susceptible to nostalgia. He says, "I miss us, Tom." Like, it's like even he kind of like holds the Matrix up on a pedestal of like the good old days. Him, a program. It's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say it. This Smith is not as good as the original Smith. He's kind of a dollar store version of Agent Smith.
Yeah. Well, let's not get ahead to what didn't work for you.
And so Neo wants to talk to Trinity.
Yeah.
But oh no, she melts away, and it's the analyst is there with deja vu. And I feel I like that they cast Neil Patrick Harris as the analyst. I think he's so good at being smug and shitty.
Oh yeah.
He reminds me of Barney from
How I Met Your Mother.
How I Met Your Mother. Yeah, he's so good.
Yeah. He's perfect for this role. And he drops, I call it an exposition bomb.
I called it villain splaining.
Oh, I use that later. But yeah, same. Yeah. He does. Did you get his villain splaining?
Did I get it?
Well, did you get it?
No, I didn't write it down,
okay,
but basically he saved Neo and Trinity so that because when they're within proximal specific distance of one another, things work. It just works. But when they're too close, things go bad. If they're too far away, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, because the energy's not there.
Yeah.
So what he says, what I meant is like they captured this, what he said. Because he says, "Now my predecessor loved precision." That's old Colonel Sanders, the architect. Yeah. His Matrix was all fussy facts and equations. He hated the human mind, so he never bothered to realize you don't give a shit about facts. It's all about fiction. The only world that matters is the one in here, pointing to Neo's brain. And you people believe the craziest shit. Why? What validates and makes your fiction real? Feelings. The new Matrix is about manipulating your feelings to get you to do what it wants.
And that's modern. That's modern reality. Like basically, this monologue is really dope. Like it's one of the cooler monologues in the movie where he basically is saying that to you people, aka us, facts don't matter. Only thing that matters is feelings. And we care more about fiction than we do about real people. And that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
If you ask most people, they have more investment in the Star Wars universe than they do in their own community with regards to, you know, community well-being and combating poverty and stuff. They care more about the rebels versus the Empire than they do about the people versus the oligarchy of Amazon and all of that.
Right, which is this fucked up thing because Star Wars is an allegory too. You know, like...
But people didn't get it.
Right.
They don't understand that they're supposed to be the rebel. They're not supposed to root for the Empire.
Yeah, they root for the rebels while living the Empire lifestyle. Yeah,
they're
sure.
Like, I'm a worker on the Death Star, and I root for the rebels.
Totally.
They just don't figure that out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so
that's a really meaningful monologue. It was one of the better, more poignant moments.
I think so too.
And then there's more fightings. It happens. There's a slow motion bullet thing.
Yeah, where they basically he takes the bullet time and then overdoes it. Where it's like, well, you're bullet time, and then I'm even beyond that.
Yeah, like you can slow things down, but I can slow you down.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, it's kind of cool.
Yeah. I don't know. There's more. He says more stuff about how people stay in their pods. And,
this movie was a bit too long.
It is a
2.5 hour movie.
Okay. Then the analyst. Let's cut to the chase. Then the analyst gives Neo an ultimatum: come home before something terrible happens. Basically, if you don't go back to your pod, I'm going to kill Trinity.
Yeah, because she's useless without you. Mm-hmm. And so if you don't come back, I'm just going to kill her.
Yeah. And so the crew of the Nemesine come, Neo and everyone leaves. They're back on the Nemesine, and Shepard and his crew are there, and they're like, you can either stay here, get got by the squids, or come back to Io and get court-martialed. And so they go back to see Niobe. She's pissed. She tears Bugs a new asshole. But then a birdie-looking robot shows up called Kojaku, and it wants to talk to Neo.
Yeah. And, I mean, it turns out that it's Centene. She's an adult now. And he saw her before. She was the girl in the train station.
In Matrix Revolutions.
And... basically, he escaped and is destabilized the Matrix, and because it's powered by Neo and Trinity, and she's explaining all this shit to him.
Yeah, and she kind of like she does an exposition bomb where she explains the anomalium, how her father designed it, and then they killed him afterwards, and she didn't tell Niobe, and yada yada yada, and it turns into a heist movie for a little bit, where basically the analyst is so sure that you're going to come back to save Trinity that he's not watching Trinity, and if we're going to get her, we can get her right now. So they hatch their scheme to steal Trinity.
Yeah.
And it's Ocean's 11 in the Matrix.
Yes. Again, another version of this. And so, yeah, they end up going on this. This time, Niobe blesses the mission. She's like, well, I'll use my shitty authoritarian power to bless this off because it's the only possible way to fix things. So therefore, I will take credit for it. Thanks, Joe Biden.
Oh, man, I love your take on her. So anyways, Joe Biden calls all the various captains to brief them on this mission, and Bugs volunteers before even being ordered to. And she's pissed, like, that she doesn't get to order Bugs to go on the mission. But Bugs rules. And so she pre-volunteers. And then she says, I need 2 more volunteers and all of the captains. Everyone's a Matrix fan. Everyone's a Neo stan. We're all going.
Yeah, I liked that Shepard was one of the ones. Because I liked Shepard. I think that he might have been one of the better... one of the better people there. So
I wrote his name down, so it must be.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe I'll watch Sense8 because I like all these people. They all seem cool.
Yeah. So I mean, basically this is just them doing a heist movie. It's not really.
It's weird.
I don't know.
It's weird because some of the most beautiful shots in the whole movie are during this heist scene, like Morpheus in the anomalium. It's really good. Like, it looks so awesome, but like I'm much more engaged in the what is this about than I am in the cool visuals. Like,
Sure.
So it just like I just brushed over this stuff in the notes, and I said I don't feel like detailing the whole plan. Maybe Dave did.
Nah, I mean they basically pulled a Star Wars. They used event.
They did use a vent. You're right. They used the vent. What's with building these Death Stars with this vent in them?
Yeah, I mean it doesn't make so they
Lana Wachowski has a lot of feelings about Star Wars. It's clear because
there's a fan.
She must be a fan that wants better shit. And I agree. I feel the same way.
Morpheus sneaks in, and they disengage the macerators. And
that's so fucked up. So the idea of the macerators. So basically, when you have lived your useful purpose as a copper top, as they call it, they run you through the macerators and feed you to the other pods. Yeah. Ooh, that's rough. But hey, this ties into right now. 2022, we're in the year of Soylent Green, baby.
Oh, that's true.
We have moved from the year of Johnny Mnemonic into the year of Soylent Green, and now we eat old people.
Man, so I mean, it's not that engaging of a heist scene.
It's cool looking.
They just go and succeed.
There's
there's no conflict there.
When everyone's rolling 20s, man, like the party just kills it.
And so like the crew member lady with the tattoos talks to Neo.
Lexi.
They have a little discussion, and they wonder like, what if Trinity isn't Trinity anymore? Like, what if she's changed?
Yeah,
and
are you gonna say it?
No.
Okay, so Neo's like, I never believed I was the one, but Trinity did, and now it's my turn to believe in her. It's a little sappy. Okay,
it was very whatever. And I did like the various drones and stuff they had in here that you get a little some sights of and stuff. And then they hack they're hacking Trinity's neck cable. The VFX are really slick and they're really cool. And then basically Neo after this is happening simultaneously. Neo's in the Matrix while they're hacking out Trinity, and he walks past a bunch of officers and agents to meet with the analrapist, and I like the new Matrix crew that he goes in there with the ship crew. They all look pretty dope. Like Shepard cleans up real nice. They all look pretty sick.
I do love like everyone. They all look like themselves. Like no one just completely reinvents it. Is like in the Matrix, I'm an orc. No, like everyone kind of looks like themselves. But like in the Matrix, I have cool cornrows or bleach blonde hair.
Yeah,
or
for sure.
I have different tattoos than the tattoos I have IRL.
Yeah, I think that they look neat.
Yeah, and I like this scene, and this is when my notes re-engage because when it's Neo and Trinity, I'm in it. And I said that Neo strides in to Simulate like Clint Eastwood. He's got his long duster coat on, and it's very gunslinger, and he's going to go have his showdown with Bad Bart or whoever it is, and it's like it turns into a Western. And I'm back in. I'm back. This shit resonates with me.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And then they have this, him and the analyst have this discussion, and they basically agree to let Tiff decide, see if she's going to go with them or not. And so the analyst has faith that his programming and his handlers and all that stuff are going to hold true. And Neo agrees that he'll go back into the pod if she doesn't want to leave the Matrix.
Yeah, because ultimately he's not willing to run her through the macerator.
Well, also he is not willing to make the decision for her.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to take away her autonomy.
And that comes up a lot, like don't take away agency, and like it has to be her choice, and like that's a reoccurring theme.
Yeah. And I think that's good.
And Tiffany rolls up on the Ducati, and she's very gunslinger too, right? Like it's very much, this is turned into a Western here at the end.
And basically they go and they kind of pitch the idea, and she fails the test. She she wants to protect what she has in air quotes because she has kids and a husband, and she basically is choosing the Starbucks and Uggs.
Well, it's really cruel. Like the analyst, he pushes it, and the kids and Chad show up, and the kids come in with the mysterious daughter we've never seen, broke her arm. She's getting casted, and she needs you, and pulls those mama bear heartstrings on Tiffany, and Tiffany's like, "I'm sorry, it's too late. It's too late for me to run off with you. I've got this whole mess of shit behind me that I need to deal with."
Mm-hmm. And so basically she fails, but then she figures it out and she comes back.
It's because Chad ruins it.
Yeah, because Chad lays his hands on her.
He grabs her arm and he's like, "Tiffany, come on." And he gives her the controlling husband.
Yeah.
And that was the bridge too far. And Trinity comes out and fucking Scorpion kicks Chad and starts wrecking shit. And things get exciting for a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's a good lesson. If someone lays their hands on you, you should kick them. Don't let people touch you if you don't give consent. So
we've said this: vampires don't respect consent. Chads don't respect consent.
Exactly.
Trinity's demand consent.
Well, yeah, if you don't respect it, you're just gonna get wrecked. So that's basically what happens. They fight, and Neo does the whole explosion of bodies thing from the Matrix 2.
Yeah, he starts using his one power. Trinity starts using her power, which is kicking the shit out of people. The crews of the various ships just start blasting, like Frank from Always Sunny. And the analyst is like, "My bad. I shouldn't have pushed it." And the analyst comes out with this really sexist side here in the third act that's really gross, but like perfect for the character.
Sure.
And he's like, "Women used to be so easy to control." And he basically he's ready to like villain-splain this whole thing, and
because he uses his super bullet time.
Yeah, that's a good word for it. You have bullet time, I have super bullet time, which is even slower. But wild card, Agent Smith shows up.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, and that's so like the heel face turn of Agent Smith. It shouldn't work. Somehow it does, because this is new Agent Smith, who kind of like respects everybody and just wants to Agent Smith around the Matrix.
He's like a libertarian Agent Smith. He just wants to be free.
Yeah, he's like, "I like this new Matrix. It's cool. It's more fun than the old one. I'm a young handsome guy in it, and so I just want to go do my shit." And so he can super bullet time over the analyst. He's even faster.
Yeah. And so, fighting happens.
You say fighting happens. I wrote much violence ensues.
Yeah. I mean, they wade through a bunch of cops and stuff. One thing that occurred to me at this point is that so this basically becomes, so they are doing genre twisting. Like they did, heist movie, the Western, it becomes a zombie movie.
Yes.
And so
it does become a zombie movie.
It's pretty crazy. And I love how Smith ices the analyst and the swarm mode kind of goes in.
Yeah.
Then there's no longer a boss. There's just limitless
bots.
Zombies. Yeah.
Yeah. The analyst, before Smith just caps him right in the face, the analyst engages the swarm mode.
Swarm mode, yeah.
Yeah, which he alluded to earlier, said it was sick fun.
Yeah. And it's pretty cool because it just then becomes a zombie movie where you're running away. And I love zombie movies. So I thought that was actually pretty cool. And I mean, the good guys get vehicles and they're making their way. And
and for some reason, Neo just can't fly. I think they kind of... to use the video game terminology, they nerfed him after he jumped off the building. Yeah. Like, he used to be able to fly, and they were like, this doesn't work. If he flies off, then this whole thing's ruined. And so, for some reason, they put a block in, and he can't get his mojo up there and fly.
Yeah, and they're like, it's, I don't know, they're like, we're being herded into a kill zone.
Yeah.
And he still has his force field mojo. He can't fly.
He overuses it a bit. If we're being honest, he does a little too much of the Neo push.
Yeah, half of the action sequences are just Keanu holding his hands out in front of him. When we know he can fight, we saw John Wick. Like, come on.
I still haven't seen John Wick.
You suck. It's so good. It's the best modern action movie around. Like,
we do one of these when the fourth John Wick comes out.
Okay.
We'll binge all of them and we'll do a big John Wick jerk off where we talk about how cool it is, because I know I'm gonna love it.
You are. It's so good.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, I mean, man, I don't even know where to go with this, because it's just kind of a running thing. They're herded. They go to a bank tower. There's bullets.
We cut back and forth. Sati, she does the extraction. We get Trinity out of the thing. In IRL, Trinity's been removed from the pod. So even if they flush the pod, she's not in it. That all happens. Trinity and Neo do a whole motorcycle chase. Mm-hmm. Blah, 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 blah. Bugs Jackson, so she can save the day. Bugs and Morpheus save everybody. Mm-hmm. Neo and Trinity end up on the roof. Important shit up here.
I mean, he stops massive amounts of bullets from a helicopter, and they give you the exact same scene that we've seen before, where you're looking up at the helicopter that's raining brass on you. Mm-hmm. It's a pretty cool scene, but we didn't need it a second time.
You could say that about the whole movie.
Yeah.
That could be the episode title. Pretty cool scene, but we didn't need it a second time.
That could be. So, I mean, then he means business. They shoot missiles at him, and he redirects them into other helicopters. And Trinity's looking at the sunset, and it's so beautiful. And they have a kiss, and it's very sweet.
And she has an actualization moment, because you have the moment where basically after the missile blows up, Trinity gets up ahead of Neo, and she can see the Matrix code.
Yeah.
And she says, this is where my dream ended here. We can't go back. Neo says, we won't. They go up to the edge of the roof, and they jump off. And even though Neo can't fly, now that Trinity has become Code the One, she can fly. And they fly off.
All right. Yeah, the one changed to Trinity.
To a 1 and 0, to a binary.
And they embrace in the real world. Mm-hmm. It's very sweet. It's good acting. There's great chemistry there. There's not a meaningful scene, but it's just good.
I teared up a little. I never, nowhere in this movie did I full roll tears. But there's a few moments, like when it gets emotional, that I feel like I almost could. I could almost eke out a tear, but I just don't quite get there.
Yeah, I didn't get that far. Then they decide they're going to go and meet up. They go into the Matrix, and Trinity flies and meets up with the analyst, and she's like, we're not here to negotiate.
Mm-hmm. And she fucks him up a few times. Like, she kills him and brings him back like 3 times.
And then they decide they're going to go off to rebuild the world, and it ends with Rage Against the Machine again.
Well, it ends with Brass Against covering Rage Against the Machine, which is very meta.
Yeah.
But the same song that ended the first movie.
Yeah. And that's the end of the movie.
That's the end of the movie.
And so what worked for you? What were your personal highlights?
Hold on. Before we get into there's the post-credit scene that goes back to the pitch meeting where they pitch the Catrix.
Yeah,
which is the Matrix.
Was just kind of a joke.
Yeah, it sucks. I actually didn't even laugh.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay, guys, you're memeing us. Gotcha.
I have 2 questions that I never answered, and I watched it twice now, and I've watched some videos. Why does Agent Smith smoke? And why is Bugs always coded blue? Because Morpheus is always coded red. Every time we see Morpheus, he's wearing red. He represents the red pill. He represents grounding Neo. Why does Bugs have blue hair and blue glasses?
Just because everything is binaries.
So she just has to be the opposite of Morpheus?
I think that there needs to be a back and forth.
There always has to be a red and a blue. Maybe. I'm not satisfied with your answer, but in lieu of another one, I'll accept it for now.
I don't have a better one.
Okay. Ask me again.
So what worked for you? What are your personal highlights?
So number one, this is the same thing I said about Evangelion. Metatextual storytelling. This movie's always functioning on multiple levels. It's literally a sequel to The Matrix, and it continues from where the original trilogy left off. It's also a remix of the original film. It's also a commentary on the entertainment industrial complex and how it recycles ideas. It's also a commentary on our relationship with the internet and social media, and it can just be interpreted in multiple different ways. Did any of this even happen? Is Thomas Anderson just playing his fucking game? Is the game binary that he's been working on, is that what this is? Maybe. Or maybe it was the story we saw. I don't know. So that all works. Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss, their chemistry, everything, every time they're together, it works so good, and we don't get enough time with them together. Like the analyst says, it's about keeping them close to each other in proximity, but not letting them connect. And the movie functions that same way. It generates tension by keeping them close but just apart. And I wanted more, so I think that worked. And then it's also a small thing, but this is a rated R movie. Please make movies for grown-ups. I'm a fan of Marvel movies, and we talk about this, and like family entertainment is good for what it is, but I like fucking R-rated movies that are for grown-ups, that have grown-up shit in them. More of that, please.
Oh yeah.
What worked for you?
Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss.
Yes.
I mean, this is not a movie without them. You couldn't do this. They would have to just rewrite something else, like the prequel with Morpheus, with new Morpheus guy, or something. You could not do this without them. I think that was good. I also felt, they literally injected nostalgia into my brainstem with this.
Jacked a coaxial cable right in.
The whole point of it is just they remade every scene in a new way and tried to make it meta and a twist. So I've seen this movie before. Like, this is just a redo.
But in a good way.
I think that some of it hit. And so that's what I'm saying. The nostalgia I enjoyed. I like nostalgia. I'm not so cynical as to think I don't like nostalgia. That would be stupid.
I would say you fucking love nostalgia because you fucking love The Mandalorian, and I love
vampire movies, and they're all the same.
Right. And Critical Role. Yeah. And you love those things, and I do too. I'm not gonna put an intellectual
who only likes comic book movies.
Exactly. I am above all of this, whereas you like Dungeons and Dragons.
The thing you played since you were 7.
Yeah, because we're all in the Matrix, and we love that feeling.
Yeah, I like stuff I like. And I loved the first Matrix movie.
Yeah.
It blew my fucking mind. When it came out in 1999, I wasn't 20 yet. So
I was 20 and you're 19. Yeah.
I went and saw it. We might have seen it together.
Probably.
I saw it again, and I didn't have money to see movies twice. That was not how things went. I never saw a movie twice back in the day. I saw this movie twice.
I went to a lot of movies with you when we were kids because you were delivering pizzas and loading trucks at UPS, and you were doing all this crazy shit where as soon as the lights went out, Dave is asleep.
I slept through a lot of movies. because I worked 2 to 3 jobs, but not this one.
Yeah.
I fucking love that movie. So
Right.
nostalgia was good. I did think some of the social commentary was really good. Obviously, it made me feel real feelings. Like, I hate Chad and what Chad represents. Not just the guy and husbands and kids and stuff, but the idea of the oppressive baggage that ruins your life because it becomes your life.
Right.
I hate that.
Right.
Also, I hate Joe Biden and Niobe, who represents him. And that fucking sucks because I voted for him. But because he was just the lesser of two evils, I hate that idea of the lesser of two evils disgusts me. And that's what she represented.
Well, yeah, if you choose, your choice is Niobe or the architect.
Yeah, you choose Niobe.
You choose Niobe,
And so, yeah, we chose doddering, old, predictable guy over carnival barker clown. And so it sucks, and I hated that. So obviously the social commentary landed.
Yeah.
And I loved the Easter eggs. Like, I loved seeing things and being like, ooh.
Right?
Everyone loves that.
Yeah.
Like, I know a thing.
That made me feel smart.
Exactly. You get that little hit.
Yeah.
Everyone loves that. It's diabolical how they make you feel that way.
Right.
It's intentional. Okay, so that's it for me. What didn't work for you?
I'm more interested in the ideas of the movie than the action of the movie. And so, especially in the third act, arguably when the movie should be its most exciting, it's most generic to me. It's like when they go into the heist and it's like, you should be on the edge of your seat. Are they going to pull this off? I never doubted for a second that they would pull it off.
Yeah.
And so it's like, that's where I could tell because I was taking notes like a insane person, where I need to write about what's on the wall behind Neo and like crazy stuff. And as soon as they get into here's the plan and start doing the Ocean's 11 thing, I'm like, skip. And so obviously that didn't work. I think it crosses over the line on sentimentality occasionally. I think it goes too mushy.
Love is all you need.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, but make me feel that, don't tell me that. Da 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 da.
Yeah.
So, and I have to wonder if Lily Wachowski had been involved, if this would have felt a little more balanced. Because I think there's some magic with Lily and Lana together that is missing. There's just a little something missing, and I suspect it is the hand of Lily Wachowski. And then number 3, I'd be a liar if I didn't say I miss Lawrence Fishburne and Hugo Weaving. To me, Lawrence Fishburne as Morpheus, that's my dude through the whole first trilogy.
Yeah.
Every time Morpheus has the samurai swords.
Oh God.
Fuck yeah, cutting through semi trucks and just like doing all this shit. He gives his like "Can you dig it" speech in front of everyone in Zion while they're having their Burning Man thing. I'm so in for Morpheus. That's my captain, and I feel him not being here. Not to put anything down on Yahya Abdul Mateen II, who I love. I've loved him in everything he's been in, but he's not Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah.
And same thing with Jonathan Groff. He's not Hugo Weaving. He's not Elrond, King of the Elves. Hugo Weaving, the fucking Red Skull, is irreplaceable.
Yeah.
And so I feel their absence.
I totally agree.
What about you? What didn't work for you?
So, I mean, I'll just continue with what you were saying. New Morpheus is no old Morpheus. New Smith is no old Smith.
Yeah.
Lawrence Fishburne and Hugo Weaving are fucking legends. These dudes are up and comers and good. I'm not going to shit on them. They're just not legends.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. They're not who they were not up to the task of filling those shoes. And that
maybe they're not supposed to though.
Maybe not, but I think those guys aren't dead.
That's true. And he's a computer program. He really could have had Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not dead. You could have
They're both
had
computer
them.
programs, actually. Shit. You really could have had the same. But then you would know when you see them, you know it's them.
I don't care because they're better.
Okay, yeah. No, I agree.
So the thing that didn't land with me was the fact that this tried to be meta all the time. Mm-hmm. Everything's always meta. Okay. Everything's always 7 layers. Like, no, dude, you're not a burrito. This is sometimes a punch is a punch. You know, like this, give me a break. Secondly, don't redo all the scenes. Don't re-say all the lines. Come on.
It's too much. They went over the line.
It was the first series, although the second and third movies were not 5-star movies when the first one was, they ended nicely. Mm-hmm. And it wrapped it up with a nice little bow. We had Jesus, and it was all happy and goodness. Mm-hmm. This tread on that legacy.
Okay.
It was not as good as number 2 or 3.
Okay.
And that's sad because the first trilogy was dope. Perfect first movie with 2 very serviceable sequels.
Okay.
And I don't like that.
Okay.
I don't like it when they become exactly what they're criticizing. Additional cash grabs using old things like, we need a new bullet time for the new generation, so we'll make super bullet time.
Okay.
And that sucked. Mm-hmm. And those things made me sour toward the movie, even though I will say when I was watching it, I was enjoying it.
Okay.
So, what are your final thoughts? What's the rating here?
Okay. I don't know when I'm ever going to get to my final thoughts of this movie. I think I'll be peeling layers off this onion for a long time. I saw it, what did it say, Saturday, so I've had a week to stew on it, and I haven't stopped stewing. I'm still finding new things, and I still have questions I want answered. And so to me, that's what I want. Like, that's the sort of thing that turns me on. Like, that's why I loved Thrice Upon a Time. Also, I like shit where I get to have my cake and eat it too, where I get my little nostalgia fix, but I get something to chew on. It's a very substantial cake. And so, ultimately, I came down on to me, it's a 4-star movie because it's probably like a just barely a 4-star. Like in the old world is a 3.75, and I'm rounding it up into that 4 because we took away those fractions. But anything that I can spend this long thinking about is a 4-star movie.
Okay, I figured you would like it a little more than I did, and I rated it a 3-star movie. Mm-hmm. I think it was enjoyable until you start thinking about it too much. And that's weird because it's supposed to be a thinky movie.
Yeah. It's
not supposed to be something that is just bullets and roundhouse kicks.
Right. But mindless violence is not on brand. They said that in the pitch meeting.
And so ultimately, I think that this had a little bit of a problem, too many more problems than it needed. And so the ratings online actually agree with us in splitting the difference. It's a 5.8 on Metacritic, which leans more towards me, and then Rotten Tomato and
that's 5.8 out of 10.
Out of 10.
Yeah.
And then Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic are 65 and 64%. So basically, it's right there pegged between a 3 and a 4. And so it never reached that 80% mark, and it's a little higher than my 60% mark. So, I mean, I'm right with IMDb, honestly. So it's close. I'm not going to say that this was a bad movie because it certainly wasn't. I enjoyed it, and when it came on, I was like, oh yeah, the new Matrix. But I did watch a couple of reviews online, and they, one dude continued to call it like the Matrix regurgitations. And that's kind of where I landed with it. It was kind of like a retread, like it was like a redo of a redo of a redo.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what else to say.
No, I think that's kind of, I knew we would be in that. Actually, I didn't know if you were going to be a 2 or if you were going to make that 3. So I'm happy with you at a 3.
I thought you would
I call
be a 3,
that a win.
Honestly. I know that you like this series, but I thought that some of the problems with it, like redoing every scene and then recasting Smith and Morpheus poorly.
It would pull me down a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, because Fishburne, dude. I mean,
yeah, it's just no. I could be there, and like I said, it's not a true 4.
it's an aspirational 4.
Yeah, it's in a world where I have to choose between a 3 and a 4, and this is the thing I've said about basically all the Marvel movies that came out this year, because there was four of them, 5 if you include Venom, where I say, like, is it a 3 or 4? It's a 4, because I'm giving it.
See,
I'm giving it a little more. It could be a 3. I think your 3 is completely accurate.
So I think we think of this differently. I'm going to say that what you're doing is wrong think, because it's a threshold system. If you don't meet the minimums of a 4, you did meet the minimums of a 3. Therefore, you fall to a 3. If you can't hang with every other 4 movie, you're not a 4.
Well, so
that's where this movie's at. It can't hang with the 4s, but it's a superlative 3.
I think, and this is just a difference how we think about these things.
Sure.
If I was going to give you a 3.75, I have to make that a 4.
I would have given it a 3.5.
No, see, I think this is above a 3.5. I think I would take this over Force Awakens. I would take this over, certainly I would take it over the Rise of Skywalker.
Any Star Wars movie that's not the original trilogy.
One of these days we're gonna have to dig into The Last Jedi, because
ooh, no. Let's do Rogue One.
So we can just jerk off on it.
Yeah. All right. So
anyways,
let's go.
You're a 4. I'm a 3. Or wait, no, reverse it. I'm a 4. You're a 3. I'm happy with that. I think that's a win.
So what are you into right now?
Oh, we're skipping the break. I guess
we're just gonna get through this because this is a long one.
So I broke a personal rule of my own. I generally never read or listen to a book if I know it's being adapted into a movie or a show.
Ooh.
And but for some reason, I just really was feeling like I wanted to get into this book. And so I listened to Lonely Boy, Tales from a Sex Pistol by Steve Jones, the audiobook narrated by Steve Jones. And this is Steve Jones's memoir, and it's being adapted into a 6-part series for FX by Danny Boyle, director of Trainspotting and 28 Days Later, which I love those movies. And I was just compelled to get into this book, and I think it was because I think Steve Jones is a fascinating guy. I like his radio show, Jonesy's Jukebox, and him narrating his own memoir was just too good of an audio that I didn't want to sit on it until the show came out. Even though the book came out a couple of years ago. And I just find his story, I found it fairly riveting, especially the early chapters, the early part of his life. We talked about last episode, or the last 2 episodes, we talked about Reservation Dogs. Mm-hmm. I really like these specific but universal stories that are comedy and tragedy mixed together. And then read in Steve Jones's Cockney accent is just totally charming to me. And I'm really looking forward to this show when it finally drops on FX. I'll give you the warning. If you don't know Cockney rhyming slang, if you don't understand Cockney speech, this book is indecipherable. It's like you have to understand Cockney to understand Steve Jones, because he can't not talk in that vernacular.
Sure.
But if you get it, and he's just a really, really interesting dude, real flawed, complicated individual, and he had a crazy life, or he is still having a crazy life because he's still alive. Mm-hmm. Knock on wood, he had a heart attack last year, so keep it together, Jonesy. We're rooting for you. Anyways, that's what I'm into. Lonely Boy, Tales from a Sex Pistol. What about you? What are you into right now?
So I have been doing my level best not to get into anything new.
What?
I have been intentionally deflecting things, interesting things, whatnot, because I'm starting grad school.
Ooh, yeah.
So I figured what I would do here is I would just lay out my New Year's resolution.
Okay.
And just that's what I'm into.
Okay.
And it's just 4 quick points, and you're probably already familiar with them.
Yeah, I saw your Facebook
Yeah,
post.
I'm going to finish my master's degree in a year. That's a big deal. I'm going to work harder on my fighting by practicing technique as well as improving my overall physical fitness.
And it's been a minute since we talked about it, so elaborate. What is your fighting? What does that mean?
I do heavy armored combat. I wear steel helmet and shield and armor and all of that. And I fight full contact martial arts in the SCA, Society for Creative Anachronism. I'm going to do better. I've been doing well, but I can do better. I'm going to get in better shape, and I'm going to fight harder, do more. And basically, rather than start something new, I'm going to double down on what I already do. Barrowlands is releasing a new album sometime this year. I have my parts to record still. I'm going to really buckle down to practice for those in my spare time, which I have very little of.
Are you going to get some of this shit out of the pod cave?
Oh, yeah. After the album, this is all going to be gone.
It's
We're
gonna look
surrounded by like a big Pro Tools rig and stuff.
That can stay, but like this makes it hard to get to the bathroom without going behind your chair.
That's true.
Yeah. So yeah, the pod cave is cluttered with Barrowland shit.
And lastly, I'm going to improve my disc golf game. I'm gonna get a reliable, accurate drive over 300 feet, which is very realistic. That's not that
what about
crazy.
your tennis elbow?
It's still healing. I haven't played. Well, no, I played twice in Texas.
You had an encounter in Texas. You should talk about that.
An encounter.
Didn't you? You met some famous disc golfer.
Oh yeah, I met Connor O'Reilly, who plays for Team Latitude 64. He's a pro. He's a really good dude, and I met him. He's a Texas native, and he happened to be at the course we were at, and. He was actually, I just recently saw it. He was filming a YouTube video earlier in the day. And when he was done with his YouTube video, he just, he has a full-time, like a van with his name and stuff across the side of it, like big Sprinter van. He set up a table and had some bins of his signature discs, and he was selling them and meeting people. And we talked to him. He was super cool to me and Carrie. He was just like a really rad dude. And I'll be looking forward to, I asked him if he was going to play the Portland Open, and he said he was, and I said I'll see you there. I'll be there.
We put like on the last episode, because it was our year end, and you picked disc golf as your game of the year. We put that hashtag disc golf life and some. We put a couple disc golf hashtags on our year end posts.
Yeah,
and it got us a lot of likes. The disc golf community came through strong.
That's the thing. We're a cult.
Very good. Yeah.
Everyone, like, if you tag your stuff on Instagram, like disc golf life or disc golf or frolf, people will.
They come for it.
I follow all 3 of those hashtags. So yeah. Anyway, those are my resolutions. I'm trying not to get into new shit. I'm trying to just continue my old shit and double down on it.
Fair enough.
I know that sounds lame, but I'm on my master's degree is at a self-paced online school. So the faster I can do the content, the faster I'm done.
So cranking that out in 12 months, is that on pace, ahead of pace?
It's ahead of pace.
It's ahead of pace. What would a normal human do that at?
Well, they say 2 years, but that's stupid.
Okay.
Like, legitimately, if you take 2 years, you're going slow as fuck.
Okay.
I think 1 year is like a fast clip, but not undoable. I'm going to try to actually do it before September. I'm going to try to do it in 9 months.
Okay.
But if I don't, I'll give myself those extra few months of grace. So that's it.
All right. Give them the call to action.
Subscribe to us on your favorite podcatcher, as well as YouTube, Spotify, and Audible. Don't forget to leave us a review. A 5-star review costs you nothing, but means everything to us.
And just to piggyback on that, Spotify has put reviews on. So I know because of a lot of your year-end Wrapped on Spotify, we were your top podcast. Some of you cool divers who listen to us on Spotify. So go ahead, just give us that 5-star there. New episodes of Nick and Dave Deep Dive the Metaverse are available the 1st and 15th of every month. We are on all social media platforms across the Metaverse as Deep Dive the Meta. We are on Facebook, even though, like the Merovingian, we think it's trash. We are on Twitter because it's better. It's a little more intellectual. And we're on Vero because Zack Snyder has started sharing concept art from Rebel Moon, his declined Star Wars pitch that Netflix bought, and I can't wait for that movie. Zack Snyder, Star Wars, samurais in space. Give it to me, Netflix. Give me some more of that content.
Well, I guess this is really goodbye.
Don't say goodbye. Say good journey.